Alma stares dead ahead, totally locked in as he shouts his fireball spell. He thrust both hands forward, and a blazing inferno beam ripped across the field. The blast rockets forward and smashes straight into the target's core, erupting in a massive explosion. Alma whips his gaze back as the target hangs in smoke, and his maid erupts into cheers, shouting that he was absolutely wonderful. She raves about how wild it is that a kid his age can cast magic with that kind of pinpoint precision. And the maid amps him up even harder, praising him as the very first prodigy her family's ever produced. Alma just stands there all awkward and unsure, while she tells herself she's totally going overboard with the praise. But she's not buying it. She fires back right away, asking if he really thinks she's exaggerating. She points out that the power and pinpoint accuracy of that last spell were unreal, especially since he's still waiting on his official gift. Yet his raw talent is already so rare it feels almost impossible nobody's noticed it. Alma stared down, stuck in his head over the special gift he was promised. He was supposed to get it sooner or later, no matter what. At 15, everyone gets a gift straight from the goddess. One special power, and the deadliest combat types are the most coveted of all. A monstrous surge of energy crashes into the ground inches from him. That shockwave hits like a cannon blast. Alma flinches and shields his face as the maid blurts out a sharp, quick shout. He almost freezes mid-stare at the screen, and the second he clocks it, he realizes it's some next-level lightning magic. And then he says, when it comes to that person, you can't even predict where the attack will land. Alma shouts for his older brother, Keith, and he storms in looking way too pleased with himself. Keith glances over and tells Alma, "I see you're still out here, grinding just as hard as always." The maid spirals right back into a frenzy, insisting this is exactly what she expects from the family's greatest prodigy. And she keeps going, bragging about his purple lightning wizard gift, like even the guards can't help but call him a total ace. Alma rips into his brother with praise, saying he's doing exactly what everyone thought he'd do, especially because he's already locked onto those top-tier gifts like he was born for them. Alma demands to know what Keith needs from him, and Keith can't believe she even showed up, shocked she came all this way just to talk. Keith halts for a heartbeat like a memory just snapped into place, and tells Alma that their father somehow has a little time to see him right now. Alma's eyes go wide with shock when Keith blurts out that this whole meeting is only happening because it's for his own good. That night, the two of them slipped into the main hall and sat down for an elegant dinner, calm and quiet. No noise, just tension in the air. Their father pauses mid-bite, eyes lift to them, and he demands to know if the rumor is real. The ceremony is tomorrow. He nearly pauses mid-bite, then nods like, "Yep, this is exactly the moment I'm supposed to get my gift." He just drops his eyes to the plate and mumbles a soft answer, like the weight of the biggest day finally crushed into his chest. Lord Fellows says he went after curate and Keith, begging them to join their side, but they refuse to hear a word. He waves it off in a flash, saying it's all good, because both of them crushed their jobs and they're always swamped anyway. As he locks eyes with Alma across the table, the whole mood flips, and he admits with honest nerves that he's really worried. He blurts out, wondering if Alma's really about to land a gift so good it can carry the weight of their family name. After a beat, he wipes his mouth with a napkin, and finally forces himself to spill the truth about what he's expecting. He locks eyes with Alma, and admits he's praying the kid will finally be the one to take over his sage title. Alma just freezes, staring in raw shock as the sage title slams into him, one crushing moment after another. It's a massive deal because his dad is a legendary sage and his mom is a top-tier mage. So everyone's convinced the kids in that bloodline are destined to inherit some wild, crazy power wizard gift. Even Kureha, the oldest brother, has already carved his name into legend as the world-famous Red Lotus Wizard. And next comes the second son, Keith, already dubbed the Purple Lightning Wizard. So get ready because this is just the beginning. It's like the family has one unspoken rule. Every single person gets a gift tailored to a specific kind of magic. Both of the older brothers are packing those top-tier wizard gifts that separate them from everyone else. And you. But there's one gift that hits on a totally different level than everything else. The Sage gift is the ultimate prize for any wizard. Its power lets them unleash every kind of magic they've ever dreamed of. It's the same way Alma's dad bulldozed his way through the guy's family name buildup, solo and lightning fast. Having two sages in the family back-to-back is huge, and Alma can absolutely feel it. The pressure crushes him the second his dad says he's been watching his every move, and sets these massive expectations on him. He tells Alma, no matter what gift I open, I'm still going to be a huge deal for this family. But the real gut punch hits when he casually drops that he cleared his whole schedule just to watch the ceremony tomorrow. Alma wipes his eyes with his sleeve, fully stunned by what his dad said, grinning from how happy he feels. And with every breath he tells himself, I'm going all in. Then boom, the day of the ceremony finally hits at that huge temple. The whole place is jammed wall to wall with people, and Alma keeps telling himself, "It's fine, I don't have to become a sage, I just..." Even if that gift looks tiny or doesn't seem like much, he's still all set to take it, because the priest is standing at the altar as, with Alma staring out, eyes dead serious, he quietly swears to repay his family for every sacrifice, starting right now. Suddenly, the priest blasts Alma's name across the whole room, officially kicking off the announcement as his. His dad stares from the crowd like he's about to explode, and Alma can't think of anything except. And the rest of the man's family stands there holding their breath for the big reveal, while the priest stares at the results, and starts to blurt out exactly what Alma's gift is. Then he freezes mid-sentence, trailing off for a beat and leaves. He stood there, eyes shut tight, holding his breath as he waited to hear what fate would do to him. The priest glares at the results, frozen in total disbelief, utterly lost at what he's staring at. He stares out at the crowd, totally stunned. Like, how on earth could something like this be real, as that crushing silence keeps stretching on and on. The crowd starts whispering, the air turns strange, and then Alma's dad bursts out yelling, asking the priest why he's so rattled. His dad demands the verdict, and the priest stumbles over his words until he finally blurts out the truth. Alma doesn't have a gift. His father just freezes there, staring blankly. Pure shock hits so hard he can't even get a single word out. Alma snaps her gaze back as reality smashes into the room. Turns out the heir from the other family got not a single gift. And that's when the situation spirals hard, leaving him frozen in place, eyes bulging, absolutely wrecked by the truth. He's basically powerless. He knows no gift is basically unheard of, but he's still stuck with the one question that won't let him breathe. Why is this happening to him? The crowd starts hurling insults, sneering that a sage's son must be a total disappointment, and the pressure hits Alma so hard it feels like he can't even breathe. In his head, the word incompetent keeps screaming as he storms away, and that whole mess feels brutally painful. He just freezes there, staring in pure disbelief, and then blurts that it has to be some kind of mistake because since the rules are dead simple, everyone's meant to get a gift. Then the priest and Lord Fellows turn and start walking away. His dad swears this whole thing is unheard of, yet he's strangely certain, like he knows something no one else does. Alma stares as he walks away, wondering if he's really trying to protect her, not just chase answers. He starts obsessing over the word effort, swearing to himself that he'll grind harder than he ever has. He still remembers his dad's voice, begging that Alma would be the one to inherit his title as the next sage. So he forces a bright smile, telling himself every drop of training has to count. Then he locks eyes with his dad and promises he'll do everything he can to meet those expectations. But Lord Fellows just keeps marching on. He claims he's tracked Alma since he was a kid, swears Alma will be an asset to the family, and forces Alma to call out to him one last time, hoping his dad still has his back no matter what blew up with that ceremony. Then his dad's face contorts with pure disgust. He snaps like a snapped wire and orders Alma, "Never call me father again." He keeps marching forward, never glancing back, firing off questions to Alma like, "Tell me you don't see it. Does it still not hit you how deep this mess is?" The crowd is losing its mind, shouting that this can't be real, while Alma just stands there, eyes wide, clocking the terrifying truth. Whatever the gift was supposed to do, he's already in deep trouble. Lord Fellows looks like he's 1 second from exploding. He jerks his hand away, glares at his son like pure disgust. And Alma ends up alone by the giant stone archway, frozen in total shock as everyone turns their backs in his. As his dad rants that a bad gift is survivable, but no gift at all is a full-on catastrophe, the crowd erupts into whispers. That third son is nothing but a total failure. They start whispering like, did the family bloodline get messed up? As the crowd's roar swells and then someone straight up asks, can you even hear all the trash they're flinging at you? Telling him he's messed up everything and stained the family name. While everyone else just shrugs and calls him some spoiled rich kid with no real talent to begin with, and they just keep hurling shame on you at him. Alma's eyes start flooding with tears as he sits there and hears everyone viciously rip him to shreds. Then Lord Fellows roars at the top of his lungs, saying the Fellows family has zero use for an incompetent kid who can't even land one single gift. He calls Alma's name one final time, then seals it with a cold sentence. You're banished from the family forever, and the whole place goes silent as he cuts him loose. He's almost collapsed in a tavern later, looking wrecked and out of it, slumped over his drink and dragging out a long sigh as he tries to wrap his head around how his life got wrecked. Alma hears murmurs from nearby, people whispering that the guy they just saw was from that famous family, and it hits him like a jolt as he finally realizes the truth behind it. The whole town's already buzzing about him getting kicked out, and he snatches a drink as the worker says a pint is 700 gold, maybe. So all he can do is stare at that brutal truth. The 50,000 gold his family tossed at him when they kicked him out. and he realizes a place like this will never be home for someone as green and clueless as him. He slams his hand onto the table, jaw clenched, insisting to himself he can't keep drowning like this. Desperation is eating him alive. He almost stands up, then panic hits, because the second he's alone, he can't stop thinking about how he's going to survive. And the stress finally breaks him. He just crumples to the floor right where he stands. He's sprawled there, completely wiped out, eyes glazed as he stares into nothing Then it finally clicks, he's truly alone now. He freezes, staring up at the ceiling, and he suddenly realizes he's got 0 allies left in the whole world. And if that's not bad enough, because he's lost his family name and every last bit of hope. And now it feels like the world will never look his way again. Alma sprawls on the floor, completely wrecked. She just stares up and grumbles that everything is a bunch of crap. He starts to wonder if he's truly lucky enough to catch what comes next, laughing to himself like, so this is my so-called gift. And then a random message slams onto the screen out of thin air. Then it flashes the news. His reincarnator gift finally just activated. Alma's eyes flare wide when the screen hits him. Pure shock so hard he can't even make sense of what's unfolding. So he jolts upright and demands what that voice in his head is. Right as the system drops the bomb that he's about to reclaim all his past life memories and powers. He starts snapping at the universe, wondering what this gift even is, and what in the world reincarnator is supposed to mean. But then bam, his status starts updating. He clutches his head and starts unraveling from the pain, while the system flashes that the transfer was a success. A random guy nearby shoots him a look, blurts out, "What the hell is your problem?" and tells Alma straight up that he's totally overreacting to the pain. But it doesn't slow him down for even a second. Another message flashes that he's officially inherited offensive magic. And then it keeps rolling. Notifications slam into his vision one after another, confirming he's locked in with defensive, recovery, support, and even space-time magic primed and ready. System alerts keep blasting non-stop. Spatial, spirit, and even forbidden magic all get inherited, while Alma's screams tear through the air as his old memories finally snap into place. He gasps for air, and the truth hits him like a punch. Now it all clicks about why he never got a new gift at the official ceremony because he honestly didn't need one. He just realized his real power had been there the whole time, but before he could even catch up with the thought, a giant hand suddenly rockets in and clamps onto his face, and he's just standing there frozen in shock. Alma is totally blindsided when this random guy snaps, starts screaming, and demands to know what the hell he thinks he's doing. Alma just stares him down, calm as ever, and asks what's wrong. Then the guy jabs his finger at her and insists, "It's you, Alma, you're behind all of this, look. When I scan the room, it's pure chaos. Every person in this tavern is either drooped over their drinks or sprawled face first on the floor, except for one armored guy who's barely managing to stay upright." Alma suddenly gets it. His magic isn't breaking him because of the world. It's because he's overloaded with his own power, leaking out non-stop now that he's inherited his past life's might. It turns out anyone nearby who can't handle that much raw power gets instantly crushed by the reincarnator's presence, leaving the armored guy trembled like a leaf, barely staying upright as he fought to get out the question, what exactly did Alma do to everyone? The armored guy starts spiraling out of control, choking for breath as he grabs Alma and demands to know what the hell he's actually supposed to be. While Alma just stands there, awkward as hell, staring like she doesn't have a clue about the whole thing as the guy brags that he's somehow every single person in the place, he's drenched in sweat, eyes locked on Alma. Alma shoots her hand up and blurts out, all shaky, that it's probably just a massive misunderstanding happening right this second. He's done with this mess, and he snaps that there's 0 point arguing anymore. So he lunges forward, and Alma's eyes go wide when she realizes he's got to move fast, or he's getting nailed. Alma throws herself back to dodge the blow in the chaos of the tavern. And as the fight rages on, the real truth hits hard. She's dealing with a reincarnator, and it's finally starting to click. The armored guy keeps slamming his sword with all his strength. Then the narrator drops the bomb. This very gift is the one Alma received the moment his first life began. Turns out the reincarnator gift has a brutal catch. Whoever wields it only gets one shot, one single rebirth. And the second they hit 15, every memory and power from their past life slams back into place. And right now, dark energy is already spiraling around Alma's hands. Alma locks eyes with his opponent and finally unleashes the real power he's been hiding all along. Legendary dark magic. Alma grits his focus, leans in and hisses hollow as his hand shoots forward, triggering the next hit. A towering skeleton made of dark smoke loomed over him like a nightmare, swallowing the air around him. While everyone else in the room just freezes, mouths open, gasping, Alma's mind snaps back to the moment he vowed to be strong in his first life. And he poured his entire second life into honing those powers until they were razor sharp, right up to the moment it led to the instant it hit him, he finally understood. He had every last piece of magic he'd ever need for the. At the tavern, every last person sprawled out on the floor, slumped and lifeless. He drops his gaze to his hand, and that's when it hits. This is the exact moment his new life truly begins. The very next morning, whispers tore through town. People swore they'd spotted the fellow's son slipping into the tavern. But the guards are totally baffled. Everyone inside was found knocked out, and not a single one of them has the faintest idea how it happened. One armored guy tilts his head at the towering buildings and wonders if that's exactly where someone could vanish into hiding, while the street guards keep circling. And one guard snaps at his partner to calm down because he's taking the search way too damn seriously. But the guy leans in and reminds him, there's a huge gold reward waiting from that kid's family if they can actually find him, which Alma hears while she crouches in the dark, hiding in the shadows of a nearby alleyway. He barely catches his breath before the tavern mess he caused is already exploding into gossip, spreading everywhere. Perched on a rooftop, Alma grits his teeth thinking, so they exiled me anyway, and realizes he can't stick around in the Empire. He has to find his next hiding place fast. That's when it hits him. Familia Kingdom sits just west of where he stands right now, so he can't stop thinking about that place. A monstrous monarchy that's ruled for 200 plus years and stretches just as wide as the Empire. And he's stunned. He remembers a safe house sitting there in his past life. But with 2 whole centuries gone, he has no idea if it's still standing. It absolutely smashes into him that 200 years have gone by since he was last around. And then it hits him. This whole Illistella Empire was never even real when he was alive the first time. Alma shoots a grin toward the horizon, convinced he's really about to watch just how wildly the world has transformed over the past 2 centuries. While the guards stay locked on their patrol, Alma can't stop thinking about that old trade carriage on Carriage Street that once rolled westward, so he slips down into a pitch-black alleyway, vanishing from sight. It's still early as hell, so the streets are basically empty, and he decides to keep sprinting while the coast is clear. But he almost freezes in his tracks when he spots a familiar face, his brother Keith, who snaps that he's incompetent and tells him he's been waiting for him. Keith stands dead center in the street, blocking the whole way forward. He drags up the tavern brawl and snaps at Alma that even after he gets kicked out, he's still a disgrace to the family name. Keith starts pumping lightning into his fist, yelling that their dad is furious about the mess he caused. But Alma grabs his sleeve and begs him to hold on for 1 second. When he tried telling his brother what happened at the tavern, he swore it was all an accident, just a brutal misunderstanding, because he refuses to start a fight with his own family. Alma tries to keep the peace, telling everyone he'll slip away from the Empire without causing a scene, but Keith shuts that down hard. He tells Alma he hasn't changed a bit, and it totally blindsides her. Keith shrugs off the whole tavern mess and straight up admits he doesn't even care what happened, because why should he? With a wild, feral glare burning in his eyes, he tells Alma he wants to beat him to death right here on the spot. Alma can't even process what his own brother is saying. He just freezes there, stunned out of his mind, like he can't breathe as Keith starts piling up magic, and then he blurts out that he's been hating him the whole time. Keith snaps, hurling insults, calling him an incompetent bastard, and orders him to die as he hurls a massive blast of energy straight at Alma. But he somehow keeps his cool, clocking the strike as a lightning ball. And yeah, it's a basic spell, but he knows the real power isn't in the words, it's in the hands that cast it. Keith sits there, grinning as he thinks about being the purple lightning wizard, and how nobody is allowed to mess with him, so and then he unleashes a massive blast that lights up the whole street like daylight. Keith smug like he already won, thinking he's finally done it, until when the smoke finally fades, a massive slab of stone looms dead center in the road. And just in the nick of time, Alma slammed earth magic down and hauled up a rock shield. Keith is freaking out, demanding to know how that kid could possibly know how to use earth spells. Alma stays totally calm and tells him she's been practicing in secret for a while now. And that hits Keith hard, because earth magic pretty much wipes the floor with his lightning. So he keeps badgering everyone, demanding to know when this all even started. Keith spirals into panic, snapping that he's sick of how Alma always acts like this while he grumbles that his little brother always steals the spotlight with better results, again and again. Keith is raging about how he despises being compared to his little brother, because it straight up makes him sick. Alma keeps quiet as Keith spills the exact moment he realized Alma didn't get a special gift from the gods. Keith erupts into full-blown psycho laughter, admitting that hearing his brother was a failure made him feel absolutely amazing. He starts building up power, snarling that the family name would be stained forever if a nobody like Alma were allowed to stay alive. Keith's eyes go ice cold as he leans in and tells the kid he's ending him right there on the spot. Alma spots the spell Keith is about to unleash, and panic hits her hard because people are still right there nearby. But Keith doesn't care a bit. He's screaming that if he has to plow through a few bystanders to win, then that's exactly what he'll do. He shoots his hand up and shouts his lightning magic, El Regan, then lets the power surge and build. Alma snaps to the truth. This thunder spear isn't here to stop. It's built to slam clean through his earth shield, and he's realizing it right. Panic is crashing over him. If even one of those bolts misses, those innocent people in the street are about to get wiped out. Keith's eyes blaze with pure insanity as he screams for Alma to burn to ashes. But he finally lets that massive lightning blast rip. Then boom, a brutal explosion erupts, hurling rocks flying everywhere. Smoke starts billowing up from the massive crater, tearing through the middle of the street. Keith just scoffs at the wreckage, convinced he's already won the fight, but he leans in and bam, realizes his brother is totally gone from the exact spot he just obliterated. Keith snaps and starts yelling, demanding to know where the hell the kid is hiding, and rage burns through him as he tears across the rooftops with his eyes. But the guy is nowhere to be found. Alma actually slips in behind the crowd, and somehow, he manages to shove everyone aside and get everyone out of harm's way. He fired off a no-chant teleport spell and whisked everyone to safety. So fast Keith didn't even clock him moving. Saving that many people in silence is finally draining him, like it's taking the life right out of his bones. Alma stares at the smoking crater, and he can't help thinking his brother Keith is straight up amazing. But he knows he can't let a single more innocent person get dragged into this mess. Keith's drenched in sweat, scanning the area like a man possessed, while Alma pleads I'm sorry. Because Keith's already locked in and he's going to take her down right now. Alma stands there, hands clasped tight, like he's on the edge of unleashing a. Meanwhile, Keith is still planted in the street, lightning crashing all around him as he roars, begging Alma to finally show herself. Alma stares him down and finally admits it. His brother's lightning magic is absolutely brutal. Even with Keith acting like he's about to crush everyone, there's a huge opening just waiting to be exploited. So Alma pops up right behind him and, like it's nothing, casually points out that she's standing right there. Keith whips around, stunned out of his mind, yelling how the hell he even ended up behind him, but Alma won't give him a straight answer. She just pushes Keith forward and declares it's his turn to attack. Keith snaps at Alma, calling her an idiot, then spits that there's 0 point in shouting, he's setting up a surprise attack. But Alma yells back from the roof, telling him, I only showed you where I was. Because in his mind the fight's already done and the outcome is locked. Keith jerks his head up in total shock, and for a second he can barely even force a word. Alma hurls his earth magic into the world, and the ground instantly rips apart completely. Keith tries to get away, but he slams off a move called Rock Prison. Giant stone pillars explode from the dirt and slam shut around him. Keith realizes he's trapped, rock walls close in and seal him in tight. And he completely snaps, screaming at Alma not to look down on him, while he strains with everything he's got to break free. Alma doesn't so much as flinch, he surges with lightning magic and snaps the press lock. Boom. Massive rocks slam shut and pulverize everything trapped inside. Keith is trapped in the rock prison, screaming at the bars as his mind spirals, because he can't wrap his head around how Alma is using lightning magic too. Alma stares him down and demands, did you catch what's really going on right now? Turns out Keith's huge lightning blast from earlier didn't just hit, it magnetized every mineral buried underground. Alma tells them the truth, he's pumping his own lightning into his earth magic, so the trap can't be broken. Alma scoops up the kid she saved and races him to safety, while her brother is left stranded and stuck behind. The village elders can't stop smiling. They hail Alma as a full-on lifesaver and thank him again and again. But Alma drops his gaze, guilt crushing his chest as he blurts out an apology, convinced the entire fight happened because of him. The villagers won't let him spiral, and they tell him to lift his head up. No matter how it all began, he's the one who finally stepped up. He's the reason they got saved. Alma catches the sound, a tiny smile finally breaks across her face, and she whispers her thanks as the crushing tension starts to melt away. Keith starts cracking from inside his rock prison, screaming at Alma to tell him what's happening. He demands to know when Alma even got this much magic in the first place, and then he presses on. He's basically asking, so you've been hiding your real power this whole time, right? Keith spirals into despair, replaying every failure to live up to the sage title, then explodes and snaps at Alma for looking down on him. He keeps barking, demanding an answer, but Alma just stands there looking absolutely crushed. Almost starts to look back on the past. Back when Keith was younger, he'd constantly flex his lightning magic to everyone, and show how it wasn't only meant for brawling. It could actually yank and move things around for real. Back then, Alma looked at him like a hero, convinced it was just two brothers grinding side by side, pushing each other with friendly competition. But when Keith's face hits you right now, you can tell his brother has completely crumbled, defeated to the core. With the world flipping upside down, Alma drops a massive bombshell. He's done with the Empire, and he's sprinting east to get off the continent for good. Alma snaps at Keith to stay back, then right after that she admits he's really headed west. He shuts his eyes and blasts the thought into his head. He will never, ever witness his brother's terrifying lightning magic again. Keith snaps completely and screams at the top of his lungs that if Alma said west, then west must mean he's supposed to be heading east. Keith keeps yelling that Alma is a total idiot, and that he'll hunt him down and destroy him no matter where he tries to run, making. As Alma's smile lingers, he can't help thinking how simple his brother really is, still just waving and telling him, take care. Alma turns and strides off, shrinking into a tiny dot on the horizon, while everyone else just freezes where they stand. One of the guys stares in pure disbelief and blurts out, Alma really disappeared. The story slips into a calm corner of town, where a shopkeeper is just posted up at his stall, quietly waiting until everything's about to change. Alma stands beside a horse-drawn carriage clutching his gear, and you can feel it. He's finally about to move. The driver gestures the exit out of town, and Alma steels himself to slam the door on his old life. Almost settles into the back of the horse-drawn carriage as the trip kicks off, leaning back into the ride while he scans the carriage interior, stunned, thinking, this is my first ride in a carriage and we're going this far. Right across from him, a girl with a ribbon headband sits locked in, looking insanely focused, and she has. The second Alma spots his reflection, it hits him hard. He's sure he saw her earlier in the plaza. He can't help but feel weirdly off about the coincidence, especially when he catches her locked on him, like she's staring for a reason, and that thought leaves him unsettled. Right then, someone outside the carriage shouted for their attention, begging for just a moment before the world cut off. Just as the driver starts to zone out, a pair of armored guards storm in to warn him. There's a deadly wizard lurking somewhere nearby. The lead guard wastes no time. He demands they prove who's really on board. Alma and the girl both lunge forward, desperate to see what's causing all that chaos as the guards kick off their inspection. The guard kicks things off by grilling the guy in the vest, demanding, got any ID on you? The man fires off, name S. Tristan from West Farms, then turns to the woman beside him and declares, that's my wife, while he almost panics out of nowhere, no ID in sight, then even considers teleporting to bail. Just as the guard's attention snaps to the back of the carriage, he grills the kids for their story. Alma is seconds from snapping when, out of nowhere, someone yells, brother. It's the ribbon girl, and she shoots in front of him, leaning right in his face like, I've got this, taking over the moment. She raises a card to the guard and says, loud and clear, that she's Luna from the West Flanders territory. Then she jabs her finger straight at Alma and declares, dead serious, that he's just her younger brother. The guard glares them up and down while Alma sweats buckets, praying the lie holds. Alma clocks it, she's basically rescuing him, and she's doing it to say thanks for helping her back at the plaza. The guard slams the last check shut, then calls out that everything's cleared, everyone can finally roll out. The carriage lurches forward and finally rips past the castle gates, vanishing into the city streets behind them. As soon as they're out of danger, Alma snaps to Luna and tells her, you really saved me back there. Then he finally steps up and introduces himself as Alma for real, straight up telling her, I saw you at the plaza earlier. Luna steals a quick glance, then blurts out a shaky apology for whatever happened between them earlier. Alma lets out a massive sigh, and you can tell that whole situation has him shaking with nerves. Then it turns creepy, glowing squares and twisting lines start drifting around him like they're alive. Luna just locks onto something ahead, and her eyes go deadly intense in the blink of an eye. Alma snaps to a faint whisper from her, and it sounds like she's saying, teleport. He spots her definitely mouthing words under her breath, right before the whole world flips. Luna mutters to herself, mind blown that someone could blast a whole group with high-level space magic without even chanting. And she keeps rambling about the wild variety of spells, and the insane, razor-sharp judgment it took to make it all work. She stared into the distance, deep in thought, trying to figure out what it would really mean if this person. The carriage jolts over a nasty bump, and she blurts out Alma's name out of nowhere. Luna whips around, locks eyes with him, and drops the serious news. She's got a favor she needs him to do. Alma doesn't even look that shocked. She just tells him she figured he'd bring this up sooner or later, but he keeps repeating favor back to her, even as doubt flickers in his voice while he waits for her to go on. Luna locks eyes with him and refuses to blink, her determination blazing as she says his name one last time. She wastes no time, she tells him straight up that she wants him back in her territory. Alma shoots him a confused look, stunned by the sudden invite, and demands to know why he's the one being singled out. While Luna stares at the floor, she starts to spill the truth, because this is about something huge. Luna locks eyes with him and drops the bomb that there's a job only someone with his exact skills can handle. He's almost got the whole puzzle in place, and then he blurts out the key. That's why she went out of her way to save me from those guards earlier. But that comment hits Luna like a punch, and suddenly they're both frozen, staring at each other, completely lost. She starts to panic right away, flinging her hands around as she blurts out that she never meant for this job to turn into some kind of trade for helping him out. Alma can't shake the feeling that asking for something like this at this exact moment is flat out unfair, especially when Luna glances down, her face burning red as she blurts out that she only meant to return the favor he gave her. It's hilarious to him, so he bursts into laughter until she finally asks what's so funny. Meanwhile, deep down, he's already made up his mind to help her. But he can't ignore the fact that people are hot on his trail. If they catch up, they're gonna bulldoze a whole storm straight onto Luna's doorstep. And she totally catches his hesitation, her smile fading as she admits the invite hit him out of nowhere. She tells him straight up he can slow down if there are other things he needs to take care of first, then go handle them. Almost sat there in silence, staring out the window like the world finally handed him something he truly wanted to chase. It hits him hard with the memory of the choice he made in his past life, training like a maniac, grinding for magic mastery. Also, he could finally feel happy this time. And now, looking back, he realizes something brutal. He never actually had a clue what he wanted to do with all that power. So he finally shrugs off the guessing game and goes straight to Luna, asking what happiness really means to her. Luna's face twists with confusion at his random question, and she fires back, "Why are you bringing this up out of nowhere?" So Alma blurts that it's only for reference, and that single line makes her freeze, thinking hard for a second. The second she finally speaks up and says, "It's family," Alma's eyes go wide like she just got hit by the most simple truth of her life. She leans in and gushes about how much she loves the people waiting for her back in Flanders, and admits her biggest dream is simple. She just wants her friends and family to stay happy no matter what. Then she glances over and asks if that finally answers his question, and he just freezes, shocked at how crystal clear her goals are. Alma replays what she said, "I'm happy when my family is happy." And when he hears it, he tells her straight up that it's an amazing way to live. Tristan blurts out from across the carriage, claiming he knows Alma's been getting crushed by his older brother. Tristan and the others freeze for a heartbeat. Then Tristan blurts out an apology and admits he couldn't help hearing their conversation. A serious look snaps onto his face as he admits he doesn't know every single detail of what happened. But he finally snaps and asks straight up if it's true that Alma got kicked out of his own home. The carriage falls silent as Tristan blurts out, wondering if this whole trip is really just a setup so Alma can get her revenge. Alma stares at his clenched hands and admits, voice cracking, that he's completely fed up with how everything turned out. He admits that even after betrayal shattered him and someone ripped away everything he built, there's still one thing stopping him. Because he had zero desire to harm the place that raised him, or the people who still call it home, no matter what went down. Luna meets his eyes with a gentle smile and tells him straight up, "I knew it all along." Because there's no denying it, he's just that kind of painfully good person. Alma drops his gaze and admits he doesn't have the guts to pull off something like revenge, so he rushes to Luna, apologizes, and tells her he needs a little time to process her request, then pleads for just one night before he can answer. Luna nods like she finally understands, then tells him to think it through. Just let her know what he decides tomorrow as the carriage keeps rolling. Alma glances at her, whispers thanks for staying so patient, and right as they sit there, he leans in and promises her, by sunrise he'll have a real final answer. Meanwhile, back at the estate, Keith starts cracking, screaming at the top of his lungs for his father. And rage is shaking him to the bone as he demands his father finally signs off, so he can storm out and take Alma down. Just then, a maid slips into the room with an update, and she drops the bombshell that the Lord himself ordered Alma be brought back home, and Keith is left completely stunned. Everything flipped the moment the truth hit the streets. Keith didn't just lose, Alma actually defeated him in their fight. Lord Fellow sinks into his library chair, replaying it again and again. How Alma's insane power could boost the family's name, even if the kid never ends up with a gift. And right back in the hall, Keith is totally snapping, his fists clenched so tight they're trembling in his hands. Just repeat. He kept muttering to himself that this whole situation was straight up garbage. He suddenly realizes that if Alma really returns home, everything snaps right back to the old chaos, or worse, he's walking straight into an even bigger mess. So, then he glares back at the maid, launches a smooth lie that he's headed east, only for everything to go sideways because Then he slams on the brakes, leans in, and gives her a razor-sharp message. She better make sure his father hears every word he's got to say. Today, Keith orders her to report that Alma is riding west toward the familiar territory, and the maid just snaps her head and says, "Got it." Keith just stands there drenched in sweat, locked in. Then the truth finally hits and it starts to drag him under because he finally realized, once he put it in motion, he just crossed a major line by plotting against his own father. He rages over how screwed up his own plan is. But then he can't help smiling, because now he's the only one who knows Alma is really headed east. Keith clenches his fist to his chest, heart pounding as the truth hits him. Once he made that choice, there's no slipping back. He flashes a dangerously beautiful smile, already plotting how he'll make Alma pay for every bit of humiliation he's been swallowing lately. He strides down the hallway cackling like a villain, totally clueless that his fake report is actually nailed 100%. It's got Alma's route perfectly right, so the family's pursuer finally tracks Alma's trail west, right where Keith swore it would lead. But Keith's convinced he lied, so he storms east alone, hunting a brother who turns out not to exist. Just a short time later, the spotlight darts away from the family drama because Alma is already sprinting toward his next huge stop, Talistella. It's a colossal trade city. Jam-packed streets and market stalls crowd every corner. Once he steps inside, Alma slams a pile of coins onto the counter to pay for a place to stay. The guy behind the desk grins and tells him the room at the end of the hall is all ready for one night. He barely catches his breath in his brand new room, staring at the fact he just blew 2,000 gold on the innkeeper. And now he's got roughly 1,000 left. So once he cut ties with the Empire, he finally clocked it. Stopping in the trade city of Talistella was his only real play. He spirals into panic, realizing that if he can't snatch some quick cash, his entire journey is about to slam straight into a dead end. But if his family already has people hunting for him, he can't afford to waste a second on some drawn-out quest. He's stuck staring out the window, torn between walking straight into a dungeon and diving in head first. But he shuts that idea down on the spot. There's zero chance a dungeon packed with that kind of loot could be anywhere near this place. The moment he blurts the word treasure, his past life memory snaps into place. He shoots his hand up as everything starts to warp. And then he funnels every ounce of power into his spatial magic, shouting the item box skill like it's about to explode. A black cube drops into place above his palm, and a digital menu pops up mid-load with a bold welcome message. Then he leans in, stares into the dimensional storage space he just cracked open, and can't wait to see what treasure he's hiding inside. Alma stares as his storage space flickers to life, fueled by his mana. Because the box size doesn't come fixed, it expands or shrinks based on the user's magical power, when he double-checks everything and lets out this huge breath of relief, he realizes it's all there. Every piece from his old life made it over safe and sound. Back in his old life, he'd lean on that item box anytime things turned ugly, but he never saw it rolling up right when he needed it most. Monster materials and rare parts are scattered all over the bed, piled so high they make everything. Alma thinks if he sells just a bit of this, every single one of his money troubles will be gone for good. Until right as he keeps scrolling, it hits him. This isn't normal and he might be in over his head because some of this stuff is straight up unhinged. His inventory is stacked with legendary weapons like the Dragon God Sword and the Sea God Spear. And he knows that if he slips even one of them out, it'll spark a full-blown disaster. So he grabs one specific item, praying it won't turn into a whole disaster the moment he starts showing it around here. He tells himself it's just normal monster hunt material, safe as can be, then everything hits him at once and then doubt crashes over him. Maybe it's so rare nobody in this city even knows how to price it. Alma thinks might as well try, staring at the monster part gripped in his hand, and after that, he decides to swing by the local guild tomorrow morning as soon as they open their doors. He pauses at the window as sunset ignites the sky, birds streaking past the buildings nearby. Nearby, Luna lies sprawled on her bed, eyes locked on the ceiling like her thoughts are choking her. She murmurs tomorrow under her breath, and her mind races, already locked on whatever the next day is about to throw at her. Next morning, the Talistella Adventurers Guild is already buzzing like a live wire. People crowd in to trade gear and snatch up new jobs. Alma steps inside and instantly clocks the chaos, because this town sits right on a massive crossroads where people from all over keep colliding. So he starts scanning for where they sell materials, but he's so distracted that, bam, he crashes straight into someone. A colossal monster head slams onto the floor with a brutal thud, and Alma blurts out apologies right away, panicking over the mess. The adventurer groaned from the dirt as Alma kept blurting, "I'm sorry," realizing she just slammed him down and sent his kill skidding to the ground. After the crash, Alma's face tightens with worry, and she rushes to ask the guy if he's okay, so the adventurer just shrugs it off, beads of sweat pouring as he drags the weight of his kill, laughing and saying he should be the one apologizing. His heavy burden totally blocked his view of the kid. Alma sizes the guy up and clocks it. He's about his age and he's wearing, it's got that cheap, beginner-looking gear that screams. He's brand new and he just got his gift. He catches a brand new scratch on the guy's face and immediately wonders, did he earn that in some brutal monster fight? Then Alma drops his head and blurts out that he's sorry. He spilled and dirtied the guy's monster materials all over the floor. The guy waves it off, grinning and telling him, It's fine, plus the boar I hunted was already a stubborn old beast. And he steps in, introducing himself as Raoul the adventurer, grinning like he's got nothing to lose while making it crystal clear that Alma definitely doesn't look like he belongs in this part of town. Alma steps up, tells everyone he's just hunting for a place to unload his monster materials. And yeah, he's carrying so much it's ridiculous. Raoul flashes a thumbs up and tells him, "I'm going to the exact same place, come on, I'll show you the way." As they walked, Raoul's jaw dropped when he heard Alma made the whole trip from Alistella, only for Alma to admit he'd blown through his money halfway there. Raoul's shoulders sag from hauling his catch as he asks, "So is this your first time in the guild, Alma?" And then he presses her with one direct question. Does Alma really plan to sign up and go full-time as an adventurer? Raoul's wording almost threw him off, but then he quickly clears it up. He's not here to join the guild. He figured he'd sell off his materials for quick cash, then bolt straight into the familiar territory thinking that it's a solid plan, until he spots Raoul acting totally on edge and demands to know what's wrong. Raoul forces a calm voice, then blurts out that this guild is packed way beyond what its size can handle, and it has built a totally messed up pecking order among the members, and it's been giving Raoul non-stop trouble lately. Raoul admits that if Alma really wanted to join, he would have fought tooth and nail to talk him out of it. And that snaps something into place for Alma, because now she realizes that. Turns out Raoul isn't some cold creep at all. He's actually a genuinely nice guy. But then the older guy snaps his head back and clocks that Alma looks completely worn down. He figures the kid got absolutely wrecked by that boar he's dragging around, and then he clocks the bruises all over Alma's body, and the kid can't help but let out a shaky, nervous sound. Raoul shrugs it off with a laugh, insisting the bruises didn't come from the hunt, and he's honestly got no clue how to explain the whole mess. Raoul whips his head toward their destination, then points at the receptionist waiting right behind the counter. The woman behind the desk snapped her gaze up and demanded if they'd come to sell off a stash of monster materials. She stays locked in and straight up asks Alma, "You got your official guild registration card ready?" Turns out the guild only purchases from registered members, and that drops Raoul right into the awkward spotlight, standing there like he doesn't belong. The receptionist tells him they can inspect his stuff today, if he finishes the registration right now. Alma realizes he doesn't want a thing to do with this whole adventure social ladder. No drama, no games. But as soon as Raoul taps his shoulder, it hits him. He might not have a choice, because whatever happens next is already closing in on him to get. To grab her attention, he winked at the receptionist and told her he'd let the kid use his own registration card for the trade. He tries to act like he's got it all under control, telling Alma he can just slap his name on the monster parts and sell them because there's no way the woman at that desk can remember every face that walks in. Then, Alma just stares at him, looking shaky and unsure because she's not buying his little scheme one bit. Turns out his worry hit the nail on the head, because the receptionist snaps into action right away and tells them she can hear every word loud and clear since they're being way too noisy and all. Alma just stands there and tells them to take those shady talks somewhere else next time. And he can't help thinking Raoul is honestly the worst at sneaking around. Raoul finally lets out a breath of relief when she admits it's not against the rules, because the one who actually hunted the stuff is literally standing right there. She slams the official papers down with a thunderous thud, then orders them straight to the warehouse, because the pros can spot everything at once, so they scramble to move to. Slide to the back and look. Massive beast parts are hogtied and dangling from the ceiling like trophies. The appraiser leans in, eyeing every detail, because a normal beastly boar would fetch around 5,000 gold, but this one feels like it could be worth way more. The appraiser scans the haul and tells Raoul straight up, with boars flooding the market this year, there's no way he's getting more than 3,500 gold for their tusks and nails. Raoul reclines with a smirk, totally unfazed. "As long as it feeds me for my next few meals," he says. The old guy only exhales like asterisk. Yep, Raoul's still the same. Zero greedy bone in his whole body. He keeps going over the catch, calling the boar beat up and the whole thing a total mess. So yeah, it's not hard to see why he pauses, and Raoul meets his gaze and fires off. "So why aren't you hunting bigger monsters for once instead of wasting your time on these puny guys?" He leans in and tells Raoul, "Look, your skills are already more than ready for fights way tougher than this." But Raoul just waves it off with a grin, telling the old man to quit worrying and watch what Alma is up to instead. The appraiser snaps his gaze to the kid and still doesn't understand. He just shrugs and says it looks like Alma is standing there, messing with his own hands. Alma doesn't even glance up. He just tells them, "Hang on a second," because he's almost finished picking everything out, and the other two just freeze in total confusion, because it turns out they can't even see the transparent magic board Alma is working with. Almost out of nowhere, he yanks a weird black cube straight from thin air and the appraiser's dripping with liquid. while Rael just stands there, totally frozen in place, and Raul's mind starts unraveling. He's yelling nonstop about where that thing came from, demanding to know if it's some magic trick, and Alma cuts him off fast, saying it's absolutely not a trick. The appraiser shoots closer, eyes bulging as he realizes the kid is actually rocking a legendary item box. He yanks Alma by the shoulders and screams that it's straight up insane for someone his age to pull off magic at that level, while the other two just freeze there, totally lost. So Alma asks if this magic is really that big of a deal, and boom, the old man snaps instantly, shouting at him for being hopelessly clueless. The appraiser leans in and tells them, just having an item box is basically a guaranteed ticket. Since Raul's fired up, he tells Alma he's way more incredible than he ever imagined. Alma tries to brush it off, claiming it's just a handy skill and he probably has no real talent. But the appraiser slams the moment shut, eyes locked on everything Alma just pulled out. Raul clocks the stuff on the table for half a second, and then just loses it, screaming because he can't take it. He can't believe his eyes. He's staring at the real tail and scales of a fire dragon. And the appraiser drops the bombshell that the pile also includes a demon general's loincloth and even obsidian bear fangs. Alma spots the shock on the appraiser's face, and instantly knows the things he's pulled out aren't the kind you ever see around here. Then he starts scratching his head and blurts out, "Wait, are these materials even worth that much?" The appraiser and Raul snap and shout straight into his face, calling him an idiot, because the truth is the total opposite of what he's convinced of. The old man grills the kid for hauling around rare treasures you can't even find in stores. Raul snaps that a fire dragon is a colossal threat level, and Alma just keeps nodding like she's absorbing every word as they all shout over each other. The appraiser keeps talking, warning that a fire dragon is so lethal that even low-level hunters would get instantly cooked just from standing close. Then right out of nowhere, the old man swings everything off the table and pleads with Alma, begging her to let the guild buy it all right this instant. He starts rambling that he's sure Alma's just shopping around, hitting different places to find the best price, because he's terrified miss this one shot and he'll never get these items back again, so Alma calmly tells him, "You're fine, sell it to them." The appraiser can't believe his luck. He blurts at the top of his lungs, demanding the kid is really serious about the deal, which ends with Alma telling him it's totally fine, as long as he stops groveling on the floor like a complete lunatic. As he wipes his eyes, the appraiser's voice cracks. He can't hold it together, swearing to Alma he'll pay a top price if he just gets a second to wrap up the job. The old guy hunches over his desk and pours every last ounce of focus into examining the rare materials. Rael totally snaps, he explodes into a full-throat scream and blurts out the final price, $2.5 million, mouth hanging wide open. He tells Alma he's never, ever seen that much money in one place, and even Alma can't quite wrap her head around it. Alma scans the report, and suddenly realizes that one tiny chunk of material could be worth a fortune, so that means. When he finally sees what's inside his item box, he's blown away. It's worth way more than he ever expected, so he decides to clamp down and never spill a word about his past. The appraiser breaks in, saying it's been forever since he's touched anything this high grade, especially. Locked inside an item box where the conditions stayed flawless, the old man breaks down in fresh sobs the moment he lays eyes on it. He tells both of them to march to the front desk with the report, because he's got barely any cash on him, so Alma gives the guy a respectful bow, smiles, and thanks him for being insanely helpful with the appraisal. The appraiser whirls away, voice cracking as he tells Alma he's the one who should be thanking her. Then the receptionist screams the $2.5 million price tag, and the whole guild freezes, eyes locked on her like they just saw a ghost. Because they've gotta wait on the cash, the guys head out for food. Then Raul's stuck feeling awful when Alma pays for his lunch. But Alma tells him to chill. There's no way that appraisal would have turned out that great without him. Alma even offers to pay him a commission, but Raul shuts it down fast. Drop the formal talk and just call him by his name since they're the same age. They huddle around the table and shovel down the last bites, bored out of their minds, while the guild staff scrambles to stack up that huge pile of cash. Raul chews and blurts questions mid-bite, stunned by where Alma snagged all that top-tier stuff, and wondering if he really fought that monster himself. Alma realizes he can't just blurt out the truth, that he's a reincarnated prodigy, so he clamps down on his old life and keeps it locked away as a secret. "Raul, I spun this fake sob story. Said your parents handed you those items as a goodbye gift before they kicked you out for good." Raul bites the bait and with a crushed look on his face, tells Alma it sounds like he's been dragged through one terrible mess after another. Raul feels guilty for prying, shoots out an apology for being so rude, but Alma just waves it off like it's nothing. At this point, he's actually grateful his parents kicked him out. Raul stares at him and gives a smug little laugh, then tells Alma, you're seriously strong. Seeing the bright side like that, that's strength straight up. He glances off for a split second, then admits, right there, that he's aching to have strength like that. Alma spots something and blurts out, "Wait, does this have anything to do with the bruises I'm seeing on Raoul?" It knocks Raoul off balance and forces him to admit the old man in that shop warned him the same thing. He can't take on stronger enemies. He finally admits the truth. His fear hits hard, because the moment he faces someone stronger, his whole body starts trembling like he can't control it. He's not powerless or unready for this fight, he still has a real shot at winning, but the second he starts thinking the enemy is stronger, or that he might lose, panic slams the door on his confidence. Raoul tells everyone his body locks up on the spot, so badly he can't even twitch, like his own muscles betray him. Scratching his head, he admitted, yeah, being an adventurer just isn't his thing. But almost stops him dead, saying, if you're strong, then Raoul is strong too, no question. That comment hits Raoul like a sucker punch, and he just freezes there, utterly stunned, staring in disbelief as Alma leans in and tells him he's one of the best guys she's ever met, because he spent the whole day out there helping strangers. He points out that being that kind of person isn't something most people can pull off without breaking a sweat. And any crew trying to forge a powerhouse party would be lucky as hell to have Raoul in their corner. Alma can't stop replaying it. He's been a loner for as long as he can remember, even in his past life, with no real crew to call his own. But he snaps his attention back to Raoul and tells him this. Being sharp to danger is exactly what separates a real warrior from the rest. And then he drops the brutal truth. The adventurers who never know when to stop are the ones who wind up dead. Alma locks eyes with him and promises that one day, Raoul is going to have a top-tier adventure. And then he even vows he'll back Raoul personally. Raoul just gapes at him, totally stunned by the support. He flashed a smile and thanked him for the compliment. But inside, he was realizing Alma has this vibe that makes her look way older than their whole generation. Alma finally realizes it's real, because spending a whole 100 years in his past life has him looking over a century old now. The two of them just freeze in the guild for a heartbeat, and then some dude's voice slices through the room, all mockery, asking how a little nobody like him's doing. A pack of rough-looking dudes struts in like they paid the rent, and right away. Raoul looks absolutely on edge as Alma just stands there, trying to piece together what's happening. Until that massive, scar-faced monster slams to a stop right in front of them, towering over they. The two of them paused, glanced down, and then casually greeted Raoul like it was no big deal. Raoul looked totally rattled as he blurted out Evan, trying to insist he really was about to pay this month's fee any minute now. Then Evan. Evan shrugs it off for now and walks away, leaving Raoul stuck there, totally baffled about what that guy even wants. He shifts his focus to Alma, and tells her he heard about that kid who hauled in a massive load of items earlier today. And he can't stop praising how even folks outside the guild are talking about him, while Raoul just awkwardly nods along, stuck in silence. Evan grins with pure smug confidence and tells them this guild doesn't run on vibes, it runs on a strict set of rules. And it's very specific, especially that all you adventurers need to cough up a fee, because when things get brutal, you'll be able to call on each other for help. He leans in even closer and tells Alma that because he's the new guy in town, she's got to pay a registration fee right now. He slammed his hand on their table, loomed over their lunch, and made it crystal clear he wasn't kidding. His face contorts as he shoots Raoul a brutal glare, demanding to know what the hell he thinks he's doing messing around with that kid. Alma only smirks, locks eyes with Evan and tells him plain as day that he's totally wrong about how this is about to play out. Raoul lunges in to stop the chaos, firing back at the thugs that Alma isn't even an adventurer. She's just a client using the guild for today. And because he's not part of this group, there's zero reason he should cough up a dime for these fake fees. That doesn't sit right with Evan. His face contorts as he snaps at Raoul that he's really asking for trouble now. He yanks Raoul by the head, smirking while he calls him out for getting cocky just because they scored some money, then growls that it's time for another beating. Raoul yells at Alma to run, but the kid just freezes, staring in pure confusion at the mess these guys are even talking about. Right then, the receptionist girl blasts a shout across the room, saying the paperwork is a mess, and that Alma has to race to the desk immediately. She locks eyes with him, stone-faced, demanding he find some way to slip out of the trouble. Raoul pushes himself up, his chair screeching across the floor, and tells Alma to go on ahead, while he stays put to wrap up a little unfinished business. He gave the kid a warm pat on the shoulder, flashed a quick smile and promised, "I'll see you around later." At last, the pressure snaps, and Evan with his crew barrels toward the exit, those heavy doors clanging shut behind them as they escape the building. He nearly freezes in place, staring dumbfounded as the receptionist dodges his eyes, looking wrecked with pure stress. He glances down and freezes, Raoul thrust something into his hands right before he vanished with the thugs. And that's when Raoul casually hands over the adventurer's card, leaving the kid absolutely baffled like, why would you give this away? Alma can't shake the image of Raoul looking terrified just seconds ago, and yeah, something's definitely off. The receptionist leans in close and drops the truth. Those three guys are really among the rare B-rank adventurers in the whole city. She says, sure, when it comes to fighting, they're top tier, but their behavior is an absolute nightmare. And there are whispers that they've been sweating out adventurers' fees to shake people down and snatch their rewards. Anyone who won't comply gets turned into a warning sign, and the crazy part is, because they're that skilled, even the guild staff can't stop it. Alma stares at him and demands, did you really call me over just so I could help him slip away from that desk? She admits Raoul probably threw himself out as bait, then even left his card behind so Alma could still cash in and get paid while he slipped away. The receptionist drags a heavy bag across the counter and tells Alma it's the full payment for all the materials he's got coming. She leans in close, eyes locked on him, and tells him straight she's dead serious. He needs to bolt out of there as fast as humanly possible. Meanwhile, in that alley, Raoul slumps against the wall, utterly drained, while Evan looms over him and snaps that it's time to just quit. Evan digs through Raoul's things, grumbling that the man's carrying barely any cash at all. As he gapes at the dead empty wallet, one of his thugs snaps and asks if they should just turn back and snatch that kid. Raoul tries to dig in and stand firm, but pure terror has his sword trembling so hard it's literally rattling in his grip. Those thugs just grin at him, cracking up as they mock every tremble in his body while he desperately tries to play it cool. Evan steps right up into Raoul's space with a nasty grin and tells him to quit fighting and come join them. He starts pitching him this deal, swearing that if he helps them out, he'll pocket a cut of the money and maybe even snag a higher rank. The plan's clean and simple. Because the kid trusts Raoul already, he just has to bait him into the alley and the thugs will handle the ugly part. Raoul gritted his teeth, steadied his breath, and snapped his sword up with a sharp ring, blade aimed straight at the thugs still. But Evan's way quicker. He swings that heavy fist and blasts Raoul straight in the face, sending him flying. He stumbles backward as Evan needles him, ordering him to quit the tough guy act and obey, because if he doesn't, he's dead. Raoul is a total wreck, bleeding out, choking on each breath, hands trembling so hard they won't quit. Then he starts laughing through the pain, telling the seniors, you have no clue what you're up against. Even though they've only just met, Raoul can already tell Alma is on a whole other level compared to everyone else. He's sitting there amazed, because Alma somehow masters top-tier magic and snags rare items like it's nothing at all. That kid might have been thrown out of his own house, but he's still got the sharp mind and the unstoppable vibe of someone. Raoul realizes that dude is way more important than some normal rookie, and his thoughts spiral like, wait, that means. He looked him dead in the eye and declared, you've got the makings of a first-class adventurer, and he tightened his grip on his sword. Raoul yanks his sword free, plants his feet, and refuses to budge. No way he's letting Alma down now. Bloodied and wrecked, he digs in and swears he won't disappoint the kid's hopes. Then he turns and he makes up his mind. If death catches him right here, he'll still go down as a real adventurer. But Evan snapped, pure rage is boiling over, and he looks seconds away from smashing everything. Standing over the kid, Evan leans in and mocks him for trying to play hero, while the all lies splash in a pool of blood, and Evan snaps that the guy's just a nuisance, so they should kill him so they can grab the slaves and track down Alma later. Evan throws his sword up and charges in to finish the job. Raoul is hanging by a thread, whispering sorry to Alma, because in his head he's nothing but a total failure. As he thinks about it, the whole world starts slipping away, because chasing a top adventure title feels like a laughably stupid dream. Right then, Alma storms in at the top of the stairs, furious to the bone at what he's just spotted. Raoul snaps his eyes up from the floor, completely stunned to find Alma standing right there, and he can't believe the kid really showed up. Evan smirks at the scene, chuckling like, that kid was dumb enough to roll in here solo. Raoul shoves the truth at him, yells at Alma to run, because these guys are the top-ranked adventurers in town and they're coming for his money. But Evan snaps, shuts him up, and stomps a heavy boot straight into Raoul's back crack. So brutal the impact leaves Evan. Evan fires off a warning to his crew to keep the guy alive, while Alma just stands there, calm at first, until her expression hardens into something cold and deadly. With a smug grin glued to his face, Evan leans in and asks the kid, so, ready to hand over all your money yet? He figures $2.5 million is a pretty clean deal for 2 lives, but Alma isn't exactly trembling. Alma just digs in, staring at Evan and demanding to know if he's really the top drinking adventurer in this whole place. He locks eyes with the guy and bluntly tells him he doesn't exactly look the part, and then Alma lets out a heavy sigh and goes, Evan's exactly the kind of guy who won't shut up the second the enemy steps right in front of him. Evan's mood whiplashes. He tells Alma the kid seems bent on a world of pain, and Evan was ready to let him walk if he paid up, but now. But the calm is over. He unleashes a thunderous roar, shouting for Peter and Jake to get ready. Peter snags an iron-skin drug bottle midair, instantly flings the boost to his leader, and just as the moment hits, as Jake shuts his eyes and fires off his aggressive power magic, he cranks Evan's physical enhancements even higher. Evan bursts into wild laughter as his muscles balloon and his skin starts to creak, towering over the kid while he snaps. A sword was never my real weapon anyway. To prove his point, he slams the hilt of his own sword into dust with one hand, and then he starts flexing, boasting that his arms are built like an ogre's, and his skin's so tough that not even a blade can break through. He leans over Alma, tells him he's got zero chance of winning this fight, and the kid just stands there, totally bored like it's not even happening. Evan snaps rockets across the floor at full speed, and right. Then he hurls a giant punch straight for Alma's head, screaming for him to die, while the kid just stands there unblinking. Alma doesn't even flinch. He just shoots out his arm and snatches Evan's huge powered-up fist like it's nothing, freezing the whole attack in its tracks. Evan's jaw drops. He can barely squeeze out a confused noise before panic floods in and a cold sweat starts pouring down his face. The two goons in the background totally snap, screaming that there's no way some kid could just stop a hit like that. With the giant brace locked in his grip, Alma's mind spirals back, remembering how in his past life he used to believe magic was the only thing he'd ever truly be good at. Then it hits him, this body he was born with is way stronger than any buff Evan is using right now. To prove it, he yanks Evan by the clothes and smashes his forehead straight into the guy's face, shattering his nose on the spot. Jake and Peter just freeze on the spot, mouths agape, completely stunned by what they're witnessing. Evan's dazed, blood streaming from his nose, barely able to whisper as Alma yanks his fist back for a brutal follow-up. And then he swings with a lightning punch, so fast it screams through the air like a blade. The punch hits so brutally hard that Peter and Jake can only freeze in place, watching their leader get blasted clean off the ground. Evan lies face first in a colossal crater punched into the back wall, while Peter and Jake just stand there, totally stunned and stuck in place. Peter realizes those magic boosts and strengthening drugs did nothing. Evan still had no shot, so he turns to Alma and calls her a total monster. Alma lets out a weary breath as his hand starts to throb, and he can't stop thinking, I'm still nowhere near good at actually landing hits. Evan's in total denial. His mind can't even catch up to the fact he got totally wrecked in just 2 brutal hits. But he forces out a groan and yanks himself upright again. Alma watches him like it's nothing, saying the guy's tougher than he looks. As Evan gasps and wheezes, he snaps, why would someone this powerful even waste their time helping some loser like Raoul? Alma says nothing, he just stands there, eyes lowered, while the big guy keeps pressing him for answers, demanding why he's doing all this until it. Alma finally halted and stared, baffled. Why was he so furious over some guy he'd just met today? It hits him like a shock, because in his old life nothing like this ever happened. Evan snaps out of nowhere, screams at his lackeys to chop off Raoul's head the instant he gives the signal. Evan erupts in maniacal laughter, jabs a finger at Alma, and growls that he knows exactly what's going on, so Alma better not move a single muscle. Then he barrels straight into Alma's space, screaming at the top of his lungs, demanding to know if he's really Raoul's friend or if she's lying. Alma keeps muttering friend under his breath until it finally hits him. He's not just saying it, he genuinely wants to be friends with that guy. He stares back at his old life and realizes he never even got the chance to speak to a single person. Even as the noble's third son, he still had people around him, but none of them were truly his, not until now. He can't stop thinking about Raoul, the kind of solid, dependable guy who's always ready to throw himself in the line of fire for other people, never once putting himself first. Everything snaps into place for Alma. He finally gets it. He just wants Raoul and people like him to be happy more than anything. He can't stop thinking about the people back in his hometown of Flanders and how much he loves them. And it all comes down to one stubborn hope he's been clutching this entire time. All he wants is to keep his friends and family smiling, no matter what. Evan locks eyes with Alma and asks, do you have the gift of physical enhancement too? Because if you do. He admits the kid's got more raw power than he does, then taps his head and says the real truth, what truly matters for an adventurer is. It's about reading people like a book, exploiting every opening, and making sure not a single situation slips out of your control. He breaks into this psycho-level laughter, insisting risking your life is pure stupidity, because the battle ends before it even begins. Raoul's face tightened and he snapped, what the hell is so funny to you? Alma just shrugs it off like it's nothing, then she blurts, I thought it was the other way around, right as a brutal thud slams the ground and Evan snaps completely, screaming for everyone to freeze, shouting he'll take Raoul's head off right there on the spot. Almost stays stone calm and tells him straight up that his idea of happiness is nothing like what Evan thinks. Raoul stares in total disbelief as Alma makes it crystal clear. There's one thing that's absolutely certain. He meets his gaze dead on and declares, the fight is over right now. Alma's face goes stone cold as he digs through memories of how everything used to be, before he ever even showed up here and then boom, everything goes dead silent. Evan and his squad slam the ground hard. Alma casually blurts, what's even happening here? While the guys in the back suddenly lose it, screaming for Jake and Peter to wake up. With zero strain, Alma decides it's showtime. He activates his summon magic, and he drags out a creature called Nightmare straight in front of Evan, and Evan just freezes, shaking, while everything around him collapses into pure disaster. Alma rushes over to Raoul and casts her recovery spell Airy, snapping him back up on his feet. Raoul forces himself to sit up, rubbing his head like it's on fire. He looks completely out of it. He whips his head around, demands answers, and then bam, sees Evan pinned to the ground by those creepy black creatures. Raoul blurts out Alma's name in pure shock, but the kid just grins and explains that those things are nightmares, creatures that feed on dreams. Then he explains how they drag whoever they're stuck with straight into their nightmares, forcing them to stare at the worst parts of their minds, while those things just sit there, drinking every last drop of terror. Alma cracks it wide open. Those monsters were summoned by him, tucked away even before he showed up, and they won't stop until they've soaked up enough fear. So Raoul is left totally floored that this kid can even cast summoning magic. Face to the dirt, Evan snaps, sobbing hard and screaming for his mom as the nightmare finally swallows everything. Almost bursts into laughter, wondering what wild stuff the guy is really seeing. And even though Raoul feels a little guilty for jumping in, he shrugs and decides it's totally fine. Raoul glances at Alma and offers a soft, heartfelt apology, feeling like he was supposed to save the kid, but it backfired hard, turning him into the very problem instead. He crumples in his own thoughts, calling himself pathetic for how everything went down. Alma snaps back that it's not what he thinks, and then tells him the truth. She only came over to return something Raoul dropped, catching him completely off guard. He yanks out an adventure registration card and grills Raoul, asking if this is the exact prize he's been hunting for. Staring him straight in the face, Alma tells Raoul with total confidence, one day you're going to be an incredible adventurer, and I'm 100% sure of it. Raoul is so overwhelmed he snatches Alma's hand and blurts out that he's thanking him for everything, because kid, he truly owes him. A sharp trio of loud knocks slams the door, 3 quick hits that slice right through the quiet morning. Luna cracks the door open and steps in to answer. Then her face lights up with shock at who's standing right there. She shoots, what's the deal with those guys? And Alma blurts that he's just heading to drop them off at the guild, but he had to slam this quick stop in right now before he could wrap everything up with them. With a dead serious stare, Alma leans in and tells her he's finally made up his mind about something. And it all traces back to where she grew up. Right then and there, he calls it official. He's storming straight into Flanders territory. The next morning, he can barely scramble upright in bed. Straight-up hangover agony smashes into him like a truck. Once they decided to head to Luna's hometown, the 3 of them threw a wild departure party and drank way past the point of good sense. Alma pressed 2 fingers to his forehead and bam cast her status heal magic, erasing his headache in an instant. Alma tells himself time to get up, pushes himself to move, then he glances over and he spots Luna right beside him in bed, still half asleep, groaning, rubbing her eyes as rolls toward him and Alma's whole body locks up. She sweats nervously while he stares her down. She sinks deeper into the pillows, murmurs a sleepy good morning, and leaves him scrambling, stuttering out a reply like he's caught off guard. He forces himself to stay calm, reminding himself she only forgot to book her room for 1 extra night, telling himself, over and over, that he had to let her stay and that nothing at all happened. But then Luna's cheeks light up, and she blurts that yesterday got seriously intense. So Alma's head starts steaming, rage fully takes over, and he pleads with her to quit messing around before his heart finally gives out. Then, after everything, he manages to wrap up his story about how they ended up right here. Once the party finally wraps up, they leave Talistella in the dust and kick off the brutal long haul toward Flanders, Luna's hometown. Roll rides right along with them, laughing at the tale as she asks the real question. Did the 2 of them ever actually manage to stop by the guild? Alma stares at him with a dead empty face, like she straight up forgot the whole part of the plan. Back at the guild, a thunderous voice blasts from inside the halls, shouting a full-on apology for every bit of chaos they've caused lately. Turns out it's Evan and his crew, and the second you see them, they're all sprawled on the floor, locked in a full bow, utterly crushed and defeated. Evan's a complete wreck, crying, sniffling, and falling apart as he finally admits they've done some truly awful things to people. Then, out of nowhere, they snap into a total change of heart, and start repaying every single coin they ever shook out of people through extortion. Raoul just shrugs it off, laughing as Evan walks away, and he can't stop wondering what kind of brutal nightmares those guys had to survive to turn into saints overnight. Raoul shrugs and says he just went with the moment, then leans toward Luna and asks if she's really cool with him joining up. Luna thinks it over and says, honestly, more people would help, then throws in that Raoul is surprisingly great at what he does. Raoul's hype explodes, and he blurts that they should form a brand new party right this second, leaving Alma completely speechless because the thought of actually stepping into a real party never even crossed his mind. Until right now. Raoul starts to panic and asks, so I'm not allowed to join? But Alma just shrugs it off, admitting it's only because he's never actually been in a party before. Alma's mind snaps back to his old life, every single day, alone, grinding and training until his body ached, just so he leans in and tells Raoul, joining that party sounds wild, and just like that he's officially in. Raoul snaps instantly, screams that it's time to kick off a gift-ranking showdown among everyone in the group, right before the action cuts off. It really throws the other two off guard, but Raoul just smirks and tells them he'll be the first to jump in. He drops the bomb. His special gift is the Gale Swordsman, an ability but Alma clocks it as the perfect pick for a vanguard. This thing supercharges sword training and even kicks in a splash of wind magic. Raoul tells them straight up, this ritual's a huge deal, because the one with the worst gift gets stuck paying for everyone's food and all. But Alma couldn't stop thinking, why on earth would Raoul turn a joyful moment into a stressful game? Raoul lets out a triumphant laugh, convinced he's already crushed the whole challenge, then whips around to Luna and demands, so what's your gift? The whole atmosphere snaps in an instant when it's revealed. Luna isn't just special. She's got the insanely powerful gift of a sage. Raoul is losing it, screaming that meeting a real sage is the first one of his life, while Alma just sits there, wide-eyed, shocked at how rare this moment truly is. And then it hits him back when he was a kid. He'd wanted that gift so badly it practically burned in his chest. And it wasn't just him either, because both of his older brothers were obsessed too, all of them clawing for the same. Just how much power his father really had over that guy's family. Luna flashes a cute peace sign, while Alma scrambles to wrap her head around the fact that he never saw it coming, like a legend's gift was just casually sitting there in a place like this, waiting for someone to notice. Luna flashes a sweet smile and calls the Gale Swordsman's gift awesome, but Raoul just glares in frustration, because he'd felt unstoppable right up until she stole the spotlight. Raoul whips his head toward Alma and wagers she's hiding some wild, ridiculous gift too. Then panic creeps in as he starts thinking he's the weakest link, while Alma fumbles for words and the pressure finally hits, hard, almost breaking him into a sweat, like that question pinned him in place with nowhere to run as. All at once, every kind of conflict and worry starts hammering through his head like a storm that won't quit. Rahul and Luna just stare at him, totally baffled like, what's wrong with you? While Alma's panicking, worried that if he tells the truth about his power, everyone's gonna feel awkward around him. Still, even though he could totally pull the wool over their eyes, he realizes he doesn't want to lie to his new friends. Alma was fighting to get the words out, so Raoul stepped in fast and told her, you don't have to push yourself to say anything, only do what feels right. And he tells everyone, if I ever change my mind, I'll just say it then. He glances over at Luna for a second, trying to lock in her agreement while Luna just stares them down and flat out admits she only wanted to brag a little too, then shrugs that she's simply telling the truth. And Raoul flashes a huge grin, then straight up thanks both of them for staying so calm about the whole mess. Luna shoots them a smile and vows that one day, sooner than they think, she'll finally spill the whole story to both of them. Alma realizes he's either insanely lucky or just found the right people, because those friends already trust him like he's got everything under control. Still, Raoul can't help it. He's itching to find out exactly how far Alma's power goes, because he already knows about the item boxes, the summoning, and the teleportation plus whatever comes after and he's afraid to name. And the wild part, his general magic is already on another level. So he locks eyes with Alma and bluntly asks if there's anything in the world he can't do, which sets everything off right there, because it leads to. So that leaves Alma stuck on the question, because with his magic, he can basically do anything he wants. Raoul suddenly remembers there's a special kind of magic that exposes exactly how strong someone is, and he asks if he should test it on the two of them. Raoul thinks it sounds like pure fun, and he's pretty much already sure he's gonna jump at the chance, so they crank up the analysis magic, and that appraisal light floods the whole group as they scan every stat. Once they ride the carriage to a town near the border, they blow through the checkpoint and then hit the road on foot for the rest of the journey. Luna scans the map as you push into the woods, and just like that, you realize it's a full 2-day trek before you finally reach her territory. As the sun starts to sink, they throw up a camp and Alma hauls out food for everyone, While things go still, something's not right. He spotted a whole load of camping gear from his past life stuffed inside his item box. And the moment he saw it, he knew this was the time to finally put it to use. That's a killer setup. His magic keeps every bite and sip fresh the entire trip. Staring at this cozy camp, Luna can't forget the day she first left home, when she had to haul a giant, crushing backpack on her back. Raoul just bursts into laughter, telling her she's got no idea how lucky she is, because Alma is making this whole return trip way easier for her. Alma just smiles to herself, soaking in how unnervingly quiet the forest is, because not a single monster shows up to wreck the whole vibe. A giant white wolf lingers in the shadows of the dark trees, just watching the whole group like it's waiting to strike. And Alma glances back and whispers Fenrir under his breath, like it's burning a hole in his thoughts. He finally gets it. When a beast like that is lurking nearby, it's no wonder the other monsters are too terrified to even show their faces. Raoul says the food is amazing and Luna nods right along. She can't believe it, but she loves that they're finally eating outside for a change. Alma can't stop thinking Fenrir is insanely smart and ridiculously strong, because they're tearing through the forest like they own the place. Suddenly a voice crashes into his mind, telepathy and then everything. And Alma shoots back that he's never, not once, run into a Fenrir like that before. The wolf scoffs, that's not the point. Then it saunters over, sniffing at the trees just to see what kind of monster just showed up in the woods. Alma snaps, "Are you talking about me?" and says it's way too harsh to label him a monster. The wolf stares him down and fires the question. Does he even realize how much magic he's unleashing? Alma insists he's basically unstoppable with his magic, mostly because in his past life he trained like a maniac for years. And Fenrir says his raw, massive power has the whole forest losing it. Turns out the monsters are terrified of him, and even the giant wolf can't hide that he's feeling a little uneasy, which he nearly stops dead in his tracks, and then it hits him. All those monsters weren't hunting him at all, they were terrified of whatever that is. It wasn't that legendary wolf at all, turns out it was him the whole time. Ever since that bar disaster, he's been fighting to keep his magic from leaking out unless he's actively casting. But animals pick up on this stuff way faster than people ever do. Alma thinks he's a little messed up, like he's been way too loud with that energy, so he decides to fix it right now. He yanks out Nimli's concealment spell, a sneaky trick that masks his presence. He stands there for a beat, shuts his eyes tight, and forces all that power to lock down for good. Fenrir's jaw drops, Alma's presence disappeared like a wisp of mist, and he's frantically hunting for her trail. Back at camp, Luna catches it immediately, something feels wrong. She says Alma's energy just vanished, and now she's stuck wondering what the heck is really happening. Raoul glances over and spots Luna acting weird, then a nearby voice demands, "What's wrong with you?" before the rest can even finish. Fenrir studies them with narrowed eyes, and the moment the group clocks his presence, it hits hard. He lets out a sudden, tense V. When the vibe snaps, Raoul starts trembling, but Luna just freezes and stares straight ahead, stunned. Raoul can barely force the words out. He stammers that it's a Fenrir, a legendary S-class monster, standing right there in the middle. Deep in the woods, it finally clicks. He realizes the forest's brutal silence wasn't mysterious at all, it was a warning. Raoul screams for everyone to fall back, but he barely even breaks a sweat, telling Raoul to chill out because the wolf isn't hostile, even though it's his doing that kept the other monsters away. Just then, a thunderous rustle tears through the trees. Something's seriously wrong, and he can't stop wondering what's happening right now. By the crackling fire, with that huge wolf lurking nearby, Alma suddenly feels it. Luna's pressure is different, heavier, and it hits him in a way he's never felt before, and then he realizes the rest is coming. As soon as the air starts to glow, Luna's smile drops. She stiffens with focus as swirling light whirls around her. A gigantic glowing spirit surges into view behind Luna, like some divine god stepping out of the heavens. Luna steadies herself, calls out for grace, and her eyes blaze, showing she's ready to let. Right behind her, a giant spirit erupts into view. Then she blasts the whole area with a roaring wave of white energy. Fenrir the wolf gets blindsided when a sudden power move slams into him. He just locks eyes with Luna, both of them frozen in pure shock after the move she pulled. Alma realizes he somehow managed to disarm the attack on reflex just as a heavy thud rattles the ground, and Fenrir's left wondering if the girl's reaction was even needed. Alma cranes her neck at the huge wolf and blurts, "I'm so sorry," explaining that Luna only got a little spooked, and then he leans in and admits he's praying the wolf finds the strength in his heart to forgive her. Fenrir stays ice calm, then drops an apology, straight up admitting he's the one who was rude for barging in the middle of the night like that. Alma tells Luna that the wolf isn't dangerous. If he wanted them gone, he could have wiped them out before they even clocked him, and Fenrir nods like, "Yep, that's exactly how it is." That giant wolf keeps his eyes locked on her, but his thoughts won't quit. He's still reeling from the strange magic she just unleashed and begging to know where it came from. Luna looks totally drained after that last move, and Fenrir clocks it instantly. Her magic wavelength feels exactly like summoning magic. But just as things are about to heat up, the giant wolf snaps the truth into place. Alma's a girl, not a guy, and Alma's chest drops as guilt floods in, so she blurts an apology. Raoul hides behind a tree, absolutely freaking out because Alma can actually hold a conversation with a legendary wolf. Alma shrugs and says, "We're just using telepathy," and it instantly crushes Raoul. He starts grumbling that some kid already knows way more magic than a sage like him. Raoul finally digs up the courage to ask why Fenrir even crashed their camp in the first place. And the wolf spills the truth. She says someone else is desperate to meet Alma. Apparently this person is obsessed with having Alma right there, and they're not letting that go, making all. Alma agreed to the meeting, but he's still stunned. Fenrir's got to be massive enough to shake the world. So why is a beast that big traveling all this way just to hand over an invite? Alma can't stop staring, shocked that some insanely high-level monster out there has the nerve to boss around a forest lord like it's nothing. Fenrir just beams at her gratitude, then shoots. "You're ready, can we go meet him right now?" Fenrir stares as she unleashes a huge bombshell, revealing that the tiny creature with her isn't just a pet, it's her son. And the second Luna spots the little guy, she completely melts down, while the pup just stands there, wagging like crazy and waving his little paw. Raoul is absolutely stunned. He's shouting about how incredible this monster is, while the pup just sits there completely adorable. And Alma can't stop herself. She tells the tiny wolf he looks totally harmless, and that's when everything clicks, which makes Raoul look totally stressed out, while Luna keeps screaming that the little guy is the cutest thing ever. The pup flips onto his back, belly out, mouth running as he talks them back. Then he reminds everyone, loud and proud, that he's a Fenrir too. He puts on a big shot act, cackling and asking the crew if they're finally scared of him, but it totally backfires, because the entire group just freezes, stunned, and can't stop thinking, how is he this cute and somehow still not threatening? Raoul finally caves in, starts petting him, and leans in to ask the little wolf if he's finding the perfect spots. Raoul's cheeks are burning red as he gushes about how insanely fluffy the wolf is, while Luna clutches the pup tight and stares only at that soft fur, totally locked in. That tiny wolf pup soaks up every bit of attention, practically demanding more pets, while Raoul clocks the fact he's in an amazing mood. And Raoul can't hold it in. He blurts out that he wants a turn to pet that fluff too, but Alma just barrels ahead too. Fenrir demands a serious chat with Alma's mom, then presses her with one brutal question. Why is someone like him in this land? He almost blurts out an answer, then slams the brakes, because it hits him. He still hasn't asked Luna for the full details. So he leans in on the giant wolf and flat out tells it he's got business to take care of even farther down the territory, which hits Fenrir like a jolt, warning him that those forest monsters could have slipped out, ready to raid the farm fields. Alma's eyes widen when he hears that monsters are causing chaos, and as he keeps listening to the chatter, Senator Fenrir leans in and snaps the truth. The forest harvest has been drying up, and now the creatures are getting squeezed badly to rampage through human settlements just to scrape together enough food to stay alive, leaving all. For a second he just stood there, staring, stunned, thinking how badly everything had spiraled for everyone nearby. Alma stares out at the vast land, her mind racing, back when Thanatart was just a tiny dot. And now she's trying to map Luna's home territory like it's a mystery she can't ignore. So if some tiny territory like that gets slammed by monster raids, the people there are in for a brutal time. He finally clocked it. While everyone races toward the kingdom, these backwoods are bleeding people out and falling apart, which has him staring at Luna's request like, wait, is this what's really fueling all these problems? He almost starts cooking up a plan, then realizes he can't just run out there and start slaughtering monsters. He can't just stop there, so he thanks Fenrir for the heads up, and the giant wolf just hums like it's got no words to spare. Fenrir demands to know what he's plotting, then offers to tell the forest monsters to back off, clear the whole territory, just so they don't interfere, but Alma just flashes a smile and shrugs it off, because he's about to turn this whole disaster into his secret weapon. That giant wolf locks eyes with him, growling the same word over and over, then it bluntly asks if he's about to pull some shady move. Alma gives nothing away. She just glances back at the wolf and calmly tells it to not worry. Alma flashes a small smile and admits he's praying his plan won't hurt a soul. Then he leans back like he truly believes it'll end up helping everyone involved. And right after that, Fenrir basically trusts his word, mainly because he swears Alma has the clearest mind of any mortal he's ever laid eyes on. Almost sounds genuinely stunned and fires a question at the giant wolf, can he really read minds? But Fenrir just waves it off like it's old news, and the kid stands there totally baffled as the wolf growls that he's lived 1,000 years and watched every kind of person, He claims he can read a guy's soul just by staring into his eyes. Alma snaps to a realization and points out the twist. If Fenrir's a monster lord, it means he's got to genuinely, deeply like humans. And the wolf admits it's probably the reason he keeps his territory right on the edge of where people live. Before he storms off, Fenrir leans in and tells Alma, "If you ever need anything, come find me. I still owe you a huge favor." That tiny pup practically explodes with excitement and blurts out, "I want to go to the village too." But his dad shuts it down at once. And once those two wolves vanish into the dark, everyone finally exhales and settles in for the night. Alma replays every word Fenrir said, and Fenrir's whole debt's speech feels way too heavy, especially since he only just got the guy's son. The morning sun crests the sky, and that campfire from last night is dead, just cold, ashy charcoal now. So the crew finally kicks into motion, marching down the forest path toward that gate looming in the distance. They finally stumble into Flanders territory, a plain village of thatched roofs and dirt roads, where it all. He almost freezes mid-step, scans the area, and finally realizes this peaceful little spot is where Luna really came from. Luna wastes zero time. She blurts, "Follow me," and immediately strides ahead, pulling everyone after her. She slipped past the little houses and fence lines, while the other guys matched her stride right behind her. Alma keeps darting her eyes over the plain tools and the rugged, country-made setup of the village, like she's trying to piece together what's really going on there and why it feels so familiar. Raoul lets out a small laugh and says, "Man, it's wild. This quiet is way more rural than I ever thought it'd be." Alma swears it's still going, but the second he senses that strange vibe in the air, you can tell he's starting to clock exactly what's off. The sun starts to sink behind the mountains, bathing the plain little houses in a golden, warm glow. Alma and Raoul halted in their tracks, soaking up every inch of the view as pure awe hit them from all sides. Luna spots them falling behind, whips around, and demands to know if something's wrong. Raoul gets all flustered and blurts, "It's nothing," insisting he and Alma were just talking about. Alma breaks into a warm smile and agrees. She swears the whole village feels so peaceful and quiet it's almost unreal. Luna flashes a gentle smile and agrees with him, then tells him the people here are amazing and the whole place feels just right. So she orders them to keep moving, and the guys get driven deeper and deeper into the village's very heart. Alma watches Luna and can't help wondering just how deeply Luna loves her hometown, and the people who call this place home. He grins to himself, buzzing with excitement at the chance to finally meet the people of this territory and talk to them. And then boom, they stumble onto a towering wooden fortress that towers above the rest, and Raoul's jaw drops in pure shock. Luna barges into the building, shouts that she's finally home. But the second she crosses the doorway, a younger girl comes flying in, sprinting straight over and tackles her to the ground. That hit smashes into Luna with brutal force, knocking all the air out of her lungs until she's choking and coughing. Their combined momentum hurls them both tumbling across the room, and they slam into the wall, while Alma watches it all unfold. And the younger girl pins her down and blurts out, buzzing with joy, "Welcome back." She leans in real clothes, scans her like something off, and asks if she's okay, or if she got sick after all. Then she spills how terrified she'd been that Luna would never find her way back, because Luna can't find her direction to save her life. Luna mutters that she can at least find her own house, but her sister just laughs like it's nothing. And when Luna snaps about her clothes getting ruined after that tackle, the girl fires back and tells her. Alma wipes away every excuse, because right now he's just clocked that he met Luna's little sister. Luna kicks off the introductions, tells Sanya that Alma's here to back them up, and then she jabs a finger at Raoul, blasts him as an extra, and finally introduces Sanya to Alma. Alma smiles and greets him, saying she'll stick around for a while, so he can only hope they'll actually get along, but Sanya just locks eyes with him, suspicion blazing, and barely forces out a quiet hello. Soon, a man with a thick mustache steps in, grinning, and welcomes them with a deep thank you for making the long trek to his remote land. He introduces himself, "I'm Eric," and then points to the woman beside him, calling her his wife Mabel. Turns out Eric isn't just some guy. He's Luna's real father, the lord who rules this whole territory, and both him and his wife are so incredibly kind that the whole group feels instantly at home in their place. Everyone crowds around the table for a hearty meal, trading stories and laughs, like nothing else could matter, even if somebody in this room is still clutching a grudge, and it's leaking out in every breath. Luna whips her head toward her little sister and blurts her name, trying to shake some manners into her. But she won't stop. She keeps going, telling everyone that Alma and Raoul trekked all the way from Talistella because she asked, even though Raoul looks downright miserable that he's only getting brought up as an afterthought. Luna tells Sanya that her attitude toward their guests isn't acceptable, and Sanya gulps, looks away, and pouts like she's been caught. Then it hits her and she starts to. Then Sanya whispers the city name to herself again, And right when she does, something finally snaps into place in her mind. She asks if Luna was really meant to hunt down a top-tier fighter in the labyrinth city of Stella. And the question just starts. Leaves Luna completely stunned. Sanya snaps that Stella is nothing but a commercial town, and tells her sister she should have checked first before heading out As the lecture drags on, Sanya fires off the exact reason Luna has no business traveling alone. While Luna just panics, sweats it out, and awkwardly brushes it off with, everyone messes up. Luna gets completely crushed by the scolding and honestly, Sanya's out here chewing her out so hard that she totally looks like the big sister in this whole mess. After Sanya finishes her rant, she huffs, spins on her heel, and leaves Alma stuck in a painfully awkward silence. Sanya's totally on edge. She won't buy a word the newcomers say, and there's no end to the tension between them. There's no way she's being this defensive for no reason. Something huge is driving it. A local farmer stomps in looking absolutely crushed, telling everyone how monsters have been tearing up their fields left and right so they hauled out scarecrows to stop the damage, but it was useless because nothing they did slowed a thing down. The very next day after he hit Flanders, things still aren't getting any better, almost. Alma sets off with Eric, stepping into the village to meet the locals face-to-face and finally hear the real truth of what's been happening. These stories all feel identical, but the monsters, they've gone way more feral over the last few years. Eric leans in as they tell him the chilling truth. Someone raided a nearby farm just the other day. And to make it even worse, the ground out here is wiped clean. Barren, lifeless, and dead silence hanging over everything, So yeah, nobody's been killed yet, but with crops failing and money running dry, everyone's getting stuck in poverty, trapped and desperate. Eric looks completely wrecked as he straight up admits that even though he's the lord here, he can't fight, can't help. And he's left watching the crops. And honestly, it drives him insane. Watching his people suffer while he's powerless to do a thing. Watching him, Alma clocks it instantly. This guy cares more than he ever lets on, and that realization hits her hard because behind that calm, gentle face, Eric is secretly overflowing with raw passion for everyone in his domain. Alma gets it, Luna probably grew up seeing her own dad feel this way But then Eric jerks back to reality, blurting out an apology because the pressure finally slammed him for one split second. He tells Alma he's truly thrilled he pushed through all the way from the other region, and he can't wait for her to take her time settling in. So Alma just stares at Eric's reaction as Luna bursts into giggles at her dad's sudden mood swing. Eric tries to wrestle life back into order, telling everyone that before long he'll start making real moves. Right after they push deeper into the woods, still chatting non-stop about what the village would become. A girl stands between the trees, staring deep into the forest like something might answer back. Alma can't stop thinking about Sanya. Like seriously, does a kid this young really have errands to run all the way out in the woods? He whips his head toward Eric and brings up how those monsters around here have been getting dangerously active lately. Eric confirms it and says the real threat right now is the poison lizards, because they're hoarding food like crazy and gearing up to spawn. Deep in the forest, Sanya clenches her fist and forces herself to remember. Touching that nest is a hard no but then she catches a glimpse through the trees and finally knows she's found exactly what she's been hunting for. Right by that massive hollow tree, a pack of poison lizards is slithering around like it owns the place. Sanya crouched in the bushes, staying upwind like a ghost, so the monsters couldn't track her scent. She snatches up a pinch of sleeping pollen, flings it into the air, and watches the dust cloud drift straight toward the nest. It works flawlessly, so she tiptoes right by the sleeping lizards, whispering to herself, "Just keep moving slow and steady." Sanya leans over the rocks, convinced it's all going exactly her way, but then worry slams into her. Can she really carry everything back by herself? And she curses the fact she didn't bring her sister. Suddenly, a poison lizard rockets out with a brutal hiss, slamming into her guard and catching her totally off balance. Sanya's heart slams as she panics. Why is it awake when her sleeping pollen was supposed to keep it down for hours? The lizard won't hesitate, then it rockets a nasty glob of poison straight at her. It clips the edge of the shot, slams into a nearby tree, and scorches the wood clean off the trunk. The monster sways like it's lost, staring at its missed shot, then freezes when it spots Alma, totally calm, perched in the branches. Alma drops down and snaps, "You okay, Sanya?" But Sanya can only stare at him, completely stunned. He says that one lizard was probably already asleep. Its breathing slowed, and it just tuned out the pollen completely. Alma flashes a warm smile, tells him she's just grateful he came with her, and asks if she can spill the whole story. Sanya freezes for a second, eyes locked forward, like her brain spinning a million thoughts. After everything, she finally cracks through with her own voice, and thanks Alma for jumping in and rescuing her. Alma snaps at him, asking why she'd risk getting anywhere near that nest again. Then she shoots down his theory and insists he's dead wrong about the eggs. She confesses she didn't have the wrong idea at all. She was racing to reclaim the crops the monsters ripped right out of their village. That totally blindsides Alma, because he never once expected lizards to even crave plants. He flashes back to that moment the Lord warned about monster raids, and somehow the guy didn't look even remotely shaken by it. Alma says hunting wild beasts for food would be so much easier, but Sanya snaps into a fierce rage, telling her that's not good enough. She locks eyes with him and warns, blunt as steel, that if things don't change, the pressure will crush her. And if it keeps building, her father is going to get stripped of his entire role as the Lord. After she finally lets it all out, Sanya's strength drains to nothing, and she drops into a deep, soundless sleep. Eric stands in his office, back turned to Alma, and instantly clocks that Sanya must have already spilled the beans about their whole situation too. He whips around to face him, and flat out admits it's only a matter of time before they strip him of his title as Lord. Alma just glares back thinking, she barely told me anything about what's really going on. Eric keeps pushing forward, firing off to the entire group that their territory hasn't managed to pay the crown a single tribute in years. He tells you they were meant to ship crops to the capital every single year, but cursed bad harvests and brutal monster attacks wrecked the whole plan. Slipping out of the capital while the higher-ups trade whispers that he's not cut out for the job anymore. He stares at the ground and blurts it out. An investigator's coming in just 3 days, and he's scrambling, praying he can get the harvest ready in time. But lately, the monster problem keeps escalating. These creatures keep tearing into everything they plant before it can even grow. It finally hits Alma, like a flash of lightning in his head, because he suddenly understands why Sanya was throwing herself into chaos, trying to handle those monsters all on her own. Alma shot a hand up and told Eric she might have just found a temporary fix for their problem. Alma jumps in asking, can't we just buy crops from other towns and use them for the delivery? Then Eric's wife Mabel steps up and lays it all out, because they already thought of that. She whips them to the storage and snaps, we need 5,000 gallons of crops, then crushes the hope. And even if we emptied every corner of this whole territory, we'd still scrape together only 1,500. And since everything needs to be at least a grade B level, they're basically broke enough that they can't buy that much from anywhere else. Eric looks absolutely crushed, saying there are only 3 days left and he's out of options, period, and then he stops mid-sentence. He can already feel exile or charges for hurting the country's interests coming, but out of nowhere Sanya bursts in with, my father did nothing wrong. Eric just stares at her, but Sanya's done, pure fed-up energy pours off her. She snaps on Alma's group, telling them she's seen plenty of helpers come in pretending they've got good intentions. She tells him advisors usually swagger in, sweet-talk her dad nonstop, then vanish with his money the moment they've got what they came for, leaving them trapped in barren land that keeps getting torn apart by monsters anyway. Sanya keeps screaming that none of this is her father's fault, like the whole world's just packed with too many monsters out there. She collapses, clutching her head, and can't stop asking why it has to be her dad paying the price like this. Eric leans over her, screaming her name while his daughter sobs on the floor, his eyes locked on her as he softly pats her head, tells her he's proud she snapped for him, then lays it out. Being a leader isn't about power, it's trusting people and owning the mess when everything goes south. Luna just stands there with a hurt look in her eyes, and the whole mess lands on her like a crushing weight as she flicks her gaze from her father to her sister. Almost stood by the door, soaking it all in, cursing the time he lost and wishing he'd made it back sooner to jump in and help. He finally gets it. They need 3,500 gallons of crops to make this right, and that number punches him in the gut, especially because he knows his own item box can't possibly hold anywhere near that much food. Staring at the family curled up in pure despair, Alma snaps and decides he's done feeling powerless. He's going to find a way to bring back their smiles. Eric stared up at him, realizing he had zero business begging for help when he couldn't even promise a reward. Yet it was obvious he was hanging on by a thread. Eric hangs his head, crushed, and tells Alma to keep everyone safe here once he's gone, then begs her to pass on his wisdom to whoever becomes the next lord, and he straight up admits the place is falling apart, then blames it all on himself, calling himself a fool of a leader because the people living here shouldn't be forced to pay for his mistakes. Alma locks eyes with him and realizes that even after Eric has lost everything, he's still only got one thought burning in his head: keeping his people safe. Alma suddenly locks eyes with Eric and tells him he's got this, and the moment her words hit, Eric's eyes flare with hope. He can hardly process it, blurting out, wait, are you serious? He lets out a giant exhale like he's finally breathing again, because the territory should be safe even if they kick him out, but it almost stops him cold. Then he blurts that there won't be an after, because he refuses to let Eric get anywhere, even if it's selfish, because he's already decided to step in. He snaps open his item box on the spot, Then bam, a ton of stuff tumbles out of thin air and smacks the ground with a brutal thud. And Eric just freezes on the floor, stunned out of his mind, staring up at Alma like, what is happening seriously? Alma flashes him a calm smile and tells him, 3 days, just 3. And I'll have everything sorted so you can fix this mess, Eric. He's hell-bent on keeping this man on the throne as Lord, and to pull it off, he's laser-focused on one thing: pumping out 3,500 gallons of crops to save the day. Alma scans the pile of goods and says it all looks solid, but Eric just freezes, stunned at what he's seeing and completely blank on what to say. Raoul can't contain his excitement. He grabs Alma by the shoulders, yanks her attention in place, and screams her name while Alma scrambles just to make sense of the sudden explosion. Luna keeps her eyes locked on everything unfolding, worry tightening her face as she whispers Alma, and right beside her, Sanya stands shoulder to shoulder, both of them feeling the heavy weight of what's about to happen. The clock is screaming, because the kingdom demands an investigation in just 3 days, and that leaves them next to no time at all. Alma stares down at the dead, cracked earth crumbling in his hands, and snaps at everyone that they need to start preparing right now. In the heat of that memory, Eric's face crumbles as he blurts out to Julius, tell me, do you really want all of us to die? He keeps begging him, laying out every ounce of what they've sacrificed and everything they've done for the country over the years. Eric throws the whole situation in his face as outrageous, begs him to think about the territory, and more than anything, about the people stuck there with nowhere else to go. Julius doesn't even flinch. He stays ice calm, saying, if you treat a country like a living body, you've got to cut out the infected parts to save everything else. He makes it painfully clear. If they don't cut out the struggling areas with the hard choice, the whole country will be doomed. Eric snaps to the truth that they've slammed into a wall, declares there's no point talking anymore, and then. So he raises the signal. Blades snap free and magic flares ignite as his men lock in for the fight. One of the knights leans in and presses Eric. Are you really serious, knowing who we're up against? But Eric isn't playing around, he's just locked in on figuring out their next move. He drops the formal act and screams at Julius to get ready, praising him as the great sage even as he gets out. He gets absolutely crushed by panic, as gigantic ice spikes explode from the ground and turn everyone to instant ice. It hits hard as a reminder. Julius is officially the strongest wizard in the whole kingdom, and then, after the dust finally clears, Edward seethes and calls Eric a sinner for hiding taxes, then barks for the guards to shove his head onto a spike at the front gate. With the carnage behind them, Julius Kamlai hustles Edward and demands what they're tackling next on their list. And Edward snaps into a serious face and says he's got to sit down and deal with some personnel issues tied to the Flanders territory. The two of them storm deeper into the palace, cutting off the chaos they left behind. The sun blazes over the towering palace walls as Julius strides through the quiet garden paths, wearing worry-like armor while. As he whips around to Edward, he demands a full status report, how bad things are getting over in the Flanders territory. Edward admits the harvest is almost ready to ship, but this remote location turns the whole operation into a nightmare. Getting everything sorted on time is a massive headache. But Julius doesn't look worried one bit. He just nods like it's all under control and tells everyone it's going exactly how he planned. Edward points out that even from so far away, Flanders sits like a strategic choke point between the Western empires. So they've got to keep it tightly under control, just in case everything goes south, and then he makes it crystal clear. If the local lord dares to stop them, you cut him down, no hesitation, no second thoughts. He shuts his eyes, looks his subordinate in the face, and tells him he's got full control to finish the rest of the grime his own way. Cut to the edge of the territory, Cedric finally shows up, scans the trees like he's on a mission, and realizes he's officially in Flanders. Cedric, the royal court's appraiser, tips his monocle into place and can't help blurting, is this really just another dead-end province where nothing ever happens? Until a local guy rushes in, drops into a deep bow, and thanks him for hauling himself all this way to visit them. As they move, someone blurts that the local lord is welcoming them with open arms, and then Eric snaps his hand out to signal, taking the lead through the trees while Edward stares at him with full-on suspicion, thinking, seriously, this guy can afford to be that generous right now. He recalls the reports claiming these people couldn't even come close to quota, like they were just scraping scraps together to fake the numbers. Then Eric suddenly halts and tells them, we're here. Eric glares at the massive crates and declares, 5,000 kilogallon of crops right on the dot, just like they asked for, and it sure as hell isn't the junk Edward was counting on. Edward's drenched in sweat, blurting, what the hell is going on? But Eric just stares at him and says the harvest has a massive, ugly problem. He scratches his head and straight up admits it was meant to be grade B, but somehow most of it comes out grade A, so Edward's left staring like, how is that even a problem? Edward just freezes in shock, mumbling that none of this can be real. while Cedric scrambles to get his attention. Cedric snatches a potato, studies it like he's hunting proof, and confirms, yep, Eric isn't lying about the quality. He can't even blink. Seeing all these ranks of crops piled together in one spot is straight up unreal. He stares at the dazzling produce, admits he's been the kingdom's appraiser for years, and then, straight to the point, says he's never seen anything like what's exploding in Flanders. Edward completely snaps, yelling that it's impossible, Flanders shouldn't have the cash or the tech to grow crops like this. Then he starts demanding answers about how they pulled it off when Cedric butts in and asks for the secret to his future studies, Eric shuts it down and tells him to let the real expert lay it all out. He's almost just standing there, wearing that confident smirk like he's got the whole situation locked down. Then he goes to greets Edward for the first time with a polite smile, trying to be as nice as possible before he introduces himself as Alma Fellows, then freezes for a second, catches his mistake, and he snaps it into place and practically yells at a drenched, panicked Edward. Because he's not Edward anymore, it's Alma. Edward snaps to attention when he hears fellows among the Eastern Empire's nobles. Then, right as it clicks, someone tells him Alma is serving as an advisor for the territory. Alma waves the group after him, grinning like, come on, Edward's face is way too intense for a simple farm checkup, and he leads them along. Still, Edward can't stop staring at how insanely rich the fields look, while Cedric reels. How are they sitting on a massive surplus after everything they've already handed the kingdom? Alma just stares at them and casually drops the bomb that those crops they're staring at right now were planted just this morning. Edward and Cedric totally lose their minds. Edward snaps back, yelling for them to double-check that Alma really meant everything had been planted just this morning. Cedric is just as frantic, screaming that there's absolutely no way plants can shoot from seeds to full size in a single day. Turns out the secret is this special liquid, spread across every single field in the whole territory. And the inspectors snap to it right away, because that's the legendary fertilizer of the harvest god, the wild miracle that makes crops shoot up at an insane speed. Cedric barrels straight into Alma's space, panicked and pleading as he demands to know how he could ever get his hands on something that legendary and precious. Alma just stares in confusion and demands, is it really that big of a deal? While Cedric shrugs and says he's only ever seen it mentioned in musty old books. Cedric keeps the history lesson going and explains this fertilizer doesn't just kick in fast, it stays locked in, keeping the soil rich and flawless for the next 100 years. While the local farmers just stare, jaws dropped, struggling to even repeat the shock, how the land could hold out that long. Raoul stares at Alma, bursts into laughter, and says the kid even seems born for farming, like his magic came with a natural talent for it too. But Alma just shrugs it off, swatting their praise away and insisting he has no special gift, just a rare item sitting in his bag. For a while, one visitor's been itching to know what those things are, so they finally corner Alma and demand answers, and all. And Alma just nods, while the guy points out every weird stone jutting up across the field. Alma leans in and reveals it's really a crystal packed with magical essence, yet somehow that only leaves the visitor even more confused. Alma cracks a joke that some scholar already knows this, then dives in and starts explaining how soil nutrients run everything, telling them that the one thing in the dirt that matters more than anything is the Earth's magical essence. He explains that this magic essence is basically a microscopic particle hidden inside literally everything. Because it's drifting through the air and sinking into the soil, the crops drink it up and grow like crazy. By dropping crystals into the field, he almost seems able to bully the crops into top-tier quality, and it leaves. Cedric went utterly speechless, his mind scrambling to accept that a method like that was even possible. The scholar trembles on the spot because the kid's words just hit like a bomb. What they described is truly groundbreaking. Cedric is trembling so hard he can barely stand. He can't wrap his head around it. How did he miss a method like this all this time? And he keeps murmuring those magical essence words under his breath, like he's trying to crack the final piece of a living puzzle. He launches into it, saying magic essence is usually just hanging in the air or soaked into the dirt. It doesn't simply sprout into crystals on its own, but back when adventurers ruled the world, those crystals only showed up in the darkest depths, right in the deadliest dungeon zones. So they were so brutally expensive that nobody in their right mind would waste them on farming. He locks eyes with Alma and demands to know how someone like him ever managed to get his hands on something this, which totally freaks Alma out, so he can't admit it's a dungeon trophy from his past life. And instead he blurts out a lie and claims he got it from some guy he knows. Cedric figures the person who handed it to him probably had zero clue just how crazy valuable it truly was. And then, even with all that weighing on him, he still pushed one massive question toward the kid. He says it all clicks now, the crops look top tier, but the numbers don't lie. There's no way this tiny village can plant and harvest everything that fast with so few people, so he grills Alma, asking if they brought in a whole crew of outside hands to finish the job. But Alma shuts him down with a straight no. Alma tells Cedric the kingdom's reps are sharp, then drops the real detail. He straight up told his helpers to stay hidden so they wouldn't spook his guest. Cedric S. just stuck there totally dumbfounded, staring at the kid like, "Wait, what are you even talking about?" Suddenly, a whole pack of wild boars and wolves comes crashing into the fields out of nowhere. Cedric totally loses it. Panic explodes as real monsters loom right in front of him. He barely even flinches, then explains it's the very same monsters that once terrorized the village, now kept under control, toiling in the fields in return for food. He flaunts a giant stone slab called the relief of the demon lord, and it's rumored to mesmerize any monster dumb enough to lock eyes on it. Cedric stares as a giant boar drags a heavy supply cart, still doubting that one little stone could truly shield people from getting eaten. But Alma cuts in and says these are only low-level monsters, so they can't muscle through the stone's magic, unlike that Fenrir-class beast. To prove his point, Alma performs a wild board jump through a flaming hoop like it's a damn circus act, then grins at Cedric and says they can do whatever he wants. Cedric stared like he'd just seen a ghost, and told Alma it should be impossible for him to even have that stone, because it's a legendary artifact of the demon race. Edward's sweating buckets and fuming with stress as he stares ahead, thinking that the demon race would never let a legendary item slip away, because their pride would drag them straight back, no matter what. His mind spiraled even harder as he grilled himself about why something like this even existed in the middle of nowhere. He just couldn't understand how a kid as young as Alma could have gotten it. So Alma flashes a laid-back smile, says he totally gets why they're freaking out, then tells them to chill, because the monsters obey every single command they're handed. Without warning, Cedric collapses into sobs over his handkerchief, gushes that the whole situation is amazing, and leaves Alma frozen, staring at him like she's missed something huge. Cedric blurts out that he never dreamed anyone could turn monsters into a real workforce like this, and he swears it's the perfect rescue plan for a tiny territory that's running out of people. As Cedric keeps crying and furiously dabs at his eyes, Alma just stands there, stunned, wondering if every appraiser is this touchy about their job. Then she moves on. Cedric snapped his head toward his companion and pressed Edward. "Tell me you don't see how insane and impressive this whole situation is leading." Edward admits the Flanders territory has been completely transformed. Just days ago it was dull and plain, and now it's something totally different. Alma stared up at him and Edward muttered that he needed to get a report out on this right away, then cut off mid-sentence as Luna looks utterly crushed, saying people are starting to doubt her father's right to even be a lord now. Then someone rushes in and shuts that down fast. Cedric flashed a confident grin and said, "Because I'm a court appraiser, I'm recommending the council turn this village into the example everyone follows. So if everything goes exactly as planned, the kingdom could finally throw its weight behind them, real serious support. And Luna and Eric can barely process what they're being told." Raoul starts cheering and tells Alma he actually did it, only for Alma to get flustered by all that praise, especially when Raoul shouts that Eric's help was the real reason they pulled it off. Meanwhile, Eric just stares, stunned out of his mind, because everything feels like it flipped for the better so hard, it's almost too much for his brain to even process. He breaks down in tears, begging them to believe he'd already written off any future with everyone, until just a few days ago, and you can see the weight of it crushing him. So Raoul flashes Alma this huge grin, blazes out a heartfelt thank you for everything he's done for the territory, and Alma just stands there staring, too awkward under all that attention while Luna watches from the side, stunned, thinking, seriously, Alma is incredible, no way we'd flip this whole mess around in just 3 days. But Sanya cuts in like, Alma's just different, and Luna snaps her head over, caught off guard. So Sanya leans in with that soft, steady gaze and tells him straight, Alma isn't like anyone who's ever walked into this place. Luna drops her gaze and blushes, nodding in a soft whisper as the full weight of everything Alma has done finally crashes into her. He stands almost outside, staring up at the sky, and that strange new feeling crawls in like he can't even name it yet. Everything was lining up perfectly, until a weird sinking feeling started clawing at him like something wasn't right. It's this gnawing feeling he can't name, and it's got his chest churning like it won't let him breathe as he starts freaking out, wondering if he somehow screwed everything up. Meanwhile, inside the carriage, someone can't stop raving about how insanely great the Flanders territory turned out to be. So Cedric cut in fast, shocked that the place was already this developed before they even stepped foot inside. Edward locks in a dead serious stare, admits it's the hard truth, and then a whole week crashes by while Edward and Cedric finally make it back home. The whole territory has been completely remade, because the monsters rolled up their sleeves and busted out all the construction and road work. One of the local villagers spots a wolf monster tearing through town, and welcomes it like an old friend. The lady asks if the work is done, then offers them food. Like the neighborhoods finally calmed down, and even the residents who used to be terrified now treat them like they belong. Alma flexes his item box magic right in the open fields, and boom, a black cube floats into place in front of a local farmer, leaving him completely stunned. A farmer stares in disbelief and blurts, "Can you really keep making that stuff forever?" But Alma lets out a shaky sigh and shoots it down, saying the space inside isn't fixed, it grows or shrinks depending on how much magic power you've got. Watching it all, Luna's sister clenches her jaw, looks pissed off, and mutters that none of this is fair. She starts grumbling that she's been hauling heavy water for ages, and it's left her body aching everywhere. It drives her nuts that Alma's tossing around high-level magic like it's nothing, while she can't even touch it. Luna doesn't hold back. She tells her sister that it's not Alma's fault. She snaps that Alma is just physically weak since she's always hiding in her room. Luna pushes on, saying her sister didn't grow up with anything but magic, and still can't find her way at all, even as her sister snaps back that she studied magic non-stop. Eric spots the tension rising fast and blurts out that they should just drop it and head out before it gets any worse. Alma just stands there staring, while Eric admits that no matter how hard he tries, magic like that still feels like a full-on cheat code. Alma whips around to Luna and asks if she wants to try learning the magic herself. So sudden it leaves her sister completely rattled as she chants item box again and again, her face lights up, like she's finally locked onto the one goal she can chase. The two of them slip into Luna's room, and it's basically a giant private library packed wall-to-wall with books. Alma scans the room with wide eyes, stunned as she blurts out, "Wait, this is really my room." And he spots high-level grimoires sprawled across the floor like they're just ordinary clutter. Luna's sister starts squirming with nerves and blurts out her explanation, but Alma just sits there, watching like it's all unfolding in slow motion. She dives straight into the technical stuff, saying the item box skill has two hard requirements. First, your magic power has to hit at least 1,000. Then she raises two fingers and says the second requirement is simple: spatial teleportation magic. But once she checks her own power and sees it's only 600, her eyes widen. She's still missing 400 points. Suddenly, she decides she's sprinting into the forest to hunt monsters for levels, and Alma has to yank her back before she speeds up too far. Alma shot a grin up at him and said, "We're already here, so let's blow the lid off and pull out our secret weapon," leading to. Luna's sister stared at him, completely baffled, and demanded to know what he meant by some secret weapon. He yanks out a glowing fruit and she immediately clocks it, demanding to know if it's really a golden apple. A quick breakdown reveals it's a rare sacred tree fruit that supercharges mana, and Alma swears one bite adds a whopping 500 to her total. She glares at the glowing thing unsure and shoots him a "Do I really have to eat it?" So Alma leans in and asks if the golden food just doesn't look right to her, then offers to hunt down another way if it feels off. She just smirks and tells him she's not about to doubt him now. Then she snatches the fruit into her hands, and she takes this huge bite, and the second it hits, her face goes wide with shock. Then she blurts out, "Wait, it's actually delicious." She starts raving about how it's sweet and totally refreshing. Then that sour kick snaps it into balance like it's exactly what everything needed. Alma admits he's tried it before, and it blew him away, because even when the boost maxes out at 2,500, he can't help craving more. Sanya feels a blazing warmth flood her entire body, like raw energy is surging through her veins, and she realizes her magic power is surging upward, right in that very moment. She shoots Alma an intense stare and begs, "Can I please have just one more?" But Alma tells her she'll get one later, so she stays locked in on the task since Sanya basically says all we need now is a teleport spell, like the one Alma used before. She spotted it in grimoires tagged as instant movement magic, and those books keep warning that spatial magic is basically a miracle, rare as hell, and almost impossible to pull off. Alma can't stop thinking about it. Those magic books don't all hit the same, and what you find can completely change the quality. Turns out just tracking down the one book with the right info is already half the fight, so that's why. Because the first step to mastering spatial magic is knowing every inch of the space around you like it's mapped inside your bones. Alma recaps the fundamentals, then digs into teleportation, how it rips the destination's magical essence and swaps it with the spot you're standing on, which is. That's why Sanya says sticking to a familiar spot makes everything way easier. And Alma shoots back, "Totally, no questions asked." Sanya says the key is to make the gap between those two hit just 2 for a split second during the swap, even though it's pretty wild to pull off. Because to truly master the spell, you've got to picture yourself landing on those exact coordinates perfectly. She straight up says it's a ton to process, but she's still ready to jump in with everything she's got. So Alma immediately cheers her on. Since she's still learning, Sanya begs Alma to show her what it's supposed to look like. But Alma decides they're starting small. She points to a short stretch across the room and declares that's the target for their very first try. Sanya keeps prodding him, forcing him to go again and again, until. Then right on cue, Luna barges in and blurts that the tea is finally ready, telling them to take a quick break before they burn out. While Sanya slumps there, utterly drained, Alma is already darting back and forth across the room like it's nothing at all. Sanya just stands there looking totally clueless, while Alma scrambles to find words for the insane mess. She has no idea how to explain what's going on because he's in. He shrugs like it is what it is, and both of them sink back for a beat, nursing steaming hot tea. Sanya looks completely wiped out after practice, so Alma tells her not to rush. If she can't nail it on the first try, that's okay because even if Luna's got a natural magic touch, you still gotta go slow at first when you're learning how to steer that energy. He remembers his training from his past life. Took him a full month just to finally catch on, and so he tells her to just breathe and chill, and she glances down like, yeah, I get what you mean. But Sanya refuses to quit. She digs deep, throws everything she has into one last shot, while Alma stands there watching from the sidelines. She crashes down and immediately shoots up in pure disbelief, staring like, wait, did I just actually pull that off? Alma's eyes bulge wide, because he's the one who taught her first, right there as her example. He still can't wrap his head around the fact that she learned to teleport that fast. Sanya plants her feet and sucks in deep breaths, but this intense magical pressure rolls off her like a storm as she taps into her sage gift, and Alma's already sure of it. Luna is going to be a born natural. But Sanya snaps her gaze upward and asks if she really just nailed that item box move. Then she almost smiles and tells her, keep practicing and you'll be a pro before you know it. So, she takes a sip of her tea, then gives a calm little nod, clearly thrilled with how everything's playing out. Look, when Alma locks eyes with her, it hits her like lightning. She doesn't just like magic, she loves it purely for the thrill of it. He starts thinking how Luna picks things up faster than anyone his age, and maybe she's the best student he's ever seen. Until Sanya shuts him down, saying she doesn't want compliments like that coming from someone as genius as him. She leans in and admits she'd been going hard on magic for ages, way before she ever got that official gift. Turns out her great-grandfather was a legendary mage in the kingdom, so their house was always overflowing with magic books. She's basically been addicted to mastering new spells ever since she was a little kid, and Alma can tell her passion hasn't dimmed at all as they wrap up their break. Eric jumps into their history with Alma and tells her how their family once called the royal capital home, back when everything was different, but then his father finally snapped from all the non-stop drama and brawling nobles. So to keep everyone safe, they packed up and fled to this territory his ancestors once called home. And yeah, those noble feuds were an absolute nightmare to handle. Alma stared, shocked by the truth. Luna and her family didn't just get here. They survived the kind of struggle that breaks people But Eric couldn't stop praising the folks here. They welcomed them with open arms from the very first moment. He tells them how they'd sit and soak up his father's stories, and even the locals banded together to raise them a real house, because they swore a lord shouldn't have to live in a trashy little dump. Sanya tilts her gaze up, face set and stone-cold serious, and says that's the whole reason she's driven to return the favor to everyone in the territory. Alma just stares at her as she halts for a split second, and then she flashes him this incredibly warm smile and straight up thanks him for everything he's been doing to help them lately. She knows once she masters the item box magic he's teaching her, they'll be able to help people in ways they never even imagined before. Alma can't stop thinking about how Luna always calls him unfair. Then Sanya's warm smile hits him, and suddenly he feels like it's Luna who's being unfair. He sweeps his gaze across the village and thinks that once he's done teaching Luna the right magic, this territory is finally going to hit its stride. She's so sure she can bulldoze through anything that hits her path that she doesn't even think she needs him to step in. That thought hits him like a punch. What if this land would be better without him? And then a sudden, sharp noise rips through the air and snaps his attention. Sanya leans in, what's going on? And Alma snaps back that things outside are getting way too loud, and then he just stops mid-sentence like something's about to explode. So he blurts out, what's happening? Right as Luna storms in, looking like she's seen a nightmare and scrambling to explain everything. Outside, a voice erupts and a stranger yells for Eric, the Lord of Flanders, demanding he comes with them quietly. Eric freezes in total shock, demanding how this is happening at all, as a pack of knights surges in around him. The knight explodes in accusation, saying he's using monsters for his own profit. And the moment he snaps it out, Alma and the whole family go utterly still, trapped in shock as, with the soldiers roaring in, they brand Eric a traitor against the kingdom and slam an order on him. Face trial in the royal capital, and do it immediately. 3 days have already passed since the knights dragged Eric to the capital, and now everyone's stuck in a full-blown state of. While he sits there waiting and spiraling in his own head, Alma stays busy, tossing food to the village animals just to drown out the thoughts he can't shake. Luna forces a grin, telling herself and everyone else, it's gonna be fine even if. Even with that heavy doom hanging over the village, she shouts for Alma, trying to grab his attention. And he reminds her dad said he was only going there to clear everything up. Then he tells her, if I'm innocent, I just have to stay calm and hold my ground, and she nods, swearing that's the only. She clenched her face in determination and vowed they'd guard the territory themselves until her father finally returned. Later, Alma and Luna are chilling with Raul when right then, Raul spots him and blurts that he's finally standing again. Then Luna screams his name, but Alma can't look away from the man's arm, demanding to know what caused that brutal. And there's this villager just slumped there, completely wrecked, his arm strapped up in thick, brutal bandages. The other neighbors swarm in, grilling him about what happened, and you can tell, whatever's next, it's about to get way worse. The injured guy is trembling as he blurts out that the kingdom's army ambushed them out in the forest, and he's sure those soldiers are gearing up to seize the entire territory the second Eric steps out. Raul brushes it off, telling Alma she's probably just overthinking it, but Alma can't shake it. His mind won't stop replaying one terrifying question. Why would an entire army show up right now? He leans in and stares at the man's arm. This isn't a sword cut at all. It's a nasty claw rip, and weird powder dusts his clothes from head to toe. He starts bawling and begging for help, shouting that his wife and kid are still trapped out there in the woods. Alma doesn't even blink. She tells the man she's got it right now. He tells everyone they're heading into the forest to investigate, then turns to Sanya and orders her to keep a close eye on that man while they're away. As they rush inside, Alma suddenly realizes the army was probably nothing but an illusion. Raul's totally thrown off, but Alma snaps the truth into place. This thing is a monster that blasts toxic powder into the air and forces people to hallucinate the exact terror they can't escape. Alma realizes these people are probably going insane, because they're seeing fake versions of the kingdom's army and he can't even stop it. He can't stop thinking, why on earth would anyone drag their own family into a place this dangerous? Raul blurts out the moment they spot two people sealed in thick white webbing, dangling there. They're trapped by a predator. Alma points out they're completely out of commission as the crew scrambles to figure out their next move. Right then, a whole squad of armored soldiers with glowing eyes bursts out of nowhere, instantly surrounding the Raw. Raul's panic spikes as he blurts, Alma, are you dead sure they're not real? He's trembling so hard he can barely get words out, absolutely losing it, especially when it comes to that math. A hulking Fenrir wolf erupts right in front of them and Raul blurts out her name, then forces herself to stay calm, insisting it's only another fake image pulled from what's haunting them. Raul tries to pin down whether the wolf and the soldiers are all just fakes, but he stops cold and shuts it down fast. No, because turns out the real monsters aren't outside at all. They're buried inside the illusions, lunging the moment their victims get fooled by the fakes. Raul's nerves spike through the roof as he blurts out, do we really have to fight that whole army? And Alma stays ice calm, telling him it looks like they're gonna have to. He's standing right there, dead serious, wrapped in that high-collared coat like a total pro. Alma realizes the forest is digging up everyone's deepest fears, and he snaps. This guy is the very last person he wanted to run into. Raul suddenly yanks his sword free and bellows, warning them, something's charging straight for their way. The massive Fenrir wolf rockets through the air, claws bared, and Raul braces like he's about to eat a direct hit. Alma just stands there staring as the wolf charges, without a single flinch at that massive beast because he knows these illusions might look flawless, but they'll never truly copy the real person's power. He yanks out a glowing magic orb, betting that even if the monster can mask its true form, his search magic can still smell them, so he snaps his search sense on, slams a massive grid across the treetops, and just like that he spots it. The real monster is lurking on the tree trunk right in front of him. Alma wastes not a second, unleashes a brutal blast of advanced wind magic to rip through the area and as the dust finally starts to settle, Raul realizes the illusion is cracking and falling apart for real. But then out of nowhere, he spots something, screams at Raul to look up because a dark shadow is plunging from the trees straight onto them, then out of nowhere, a giant creepy moth monster bursts in, lets out a bone-rattling roar, and charges straight into the attack. Raul blasts out a scream for Luna, but Alma is already moving. She summons jagged earth pillars and slams them in front to stop the hit. Luna just freezes there, staring at him like she can't even breathe, because he's casually tossing around high-level magic like it's nothing, like it's a joke. Raul thinks the whole fight is finally done and declares it should end everything, but Alma snaps back he's wrong. He whips around to a terrified man clutching his family and fires off the question, were the three of them trying to slip out and skip town? And the man just stares at him like he's lost, dead serious, asking what Alma even means by all of it. It's like everything finally clicks. Those people ditched the main road and went straight for that dangerous forest, and when he spots the kingdom's army all over the place, it hits him. This has got to be a desperate escape from something, and the man cuts in, talking about. A wild rumor says great sage Julius framed Eric, and that has Alma snapping. Wait, who the heck is Julius? Turns out Julius is the strongest wizard in the familiar world. He basically runs the whole country, like a cold, merciless prime minister. He crushes anyone who steps in his way, and get this, he even killed a lord recently on pure instinct, then seized his land in just days. Sanya cranes her head toward her sister, worry flooding her face, and the air keeps getting heavier as the man goes on and on. They're basically saying, since Alma's the outsider, he has no clue how terrifying Julius really is. And honestly, they never know when the army is about to burst in. So the guy finally blurts out that he's always believed using monsters for labor, just like they do around here, was a terrible idea. Suddenly someone screams that he's being insanely selfish. Alma whips her head around to spot who's yelling. And there's Luna, done with his excuses, snaps at him for saying that, after they all just barely clawed their way out alive together. Luna storms right up in his face and snaps, asking if he's really trying to dump all that hard work on Alma. Alma just stands there watching her go off, and she keeps screaming at him, yelling that he better not have forgotten what her dad always says, that believing in someone means stepping up and owning what you choose. Alma whips around to Sanya with a bright grin and says thank you. Then he shrugs it off like he's totally fine, only to keep going because he glances at the group and reassures them it's fine. He knows everyone's just terrified right now. Then he finally admits the real mess is his fault. He'd been doing everything half-hearted, and now he's ready to fix it, no excuses. Alma drops his gaze with a grave face and declares he'll prove himself to everyone. Then he presses a hand to his heart and swears that if the kingdom's army ever marches in, he'll make sure not a single one of them lays a finger on anybody. Eric stares at the kid like he's lost his mind and demands, "What are you even planning to do after you just said something like that?" Then he presses Alma hard, asking if she truly believes he can wipe out a whole army single-handedly. Alma just tilts his head toward the trees and says he has to build up real military power, strong enough that everyone can finally stop worrying. Alma strolls up with total confidence and tells the group, "Don't stress, I've already got a plan," and he starts to head out, waving them off as he promises he'll be back soon. Then he tells them to watch everything, right as someone yanks at him from behind, trying to call him back. Meanwhile, a bunch of top officials are staring at jaw-dropping legends, the harvest god's fertilizer and glowing magic crystals, whispering that no regular lord in the world should ever get his hands on treasures that rare. Edward spots a kid tied to the Empire, and then boom, they track down a relic that belongs to the demon race. He can't ignore it. Flanders' territory has either teamed up with the Empire or struck a shady deal with some powerful demon. But Julius snaps at him to slow down and stop jumping to conclusions. Edward nods and agrees without a word. Julius drummed his fingers on the desk, leaned in, and asked how Lord Eric's been doing lately. Then that question snowballed into Eric sits stone still in a jail cell, insisting he's innocent, while the only thing breaking the silence is someone casually humming along to the news. Julius snaps into focus, whispering Eric's name under his breath like he's mapping out his next strike. He orders them to treat Eric with respect, because this guy might be the perfect bait. A full moon drips over the building as a heavy sigh escapes, because they can't shake the feeling they're nothing but a pawn just getting played. Back inside now, Luna's curled up tight, tucked into her blankets, and passed out cold beside her teddy bear. But it turns out that was just a cover. She's actually outside by the trees, looking dead set on something as, under a silvery moon, she tiptoes through the woods, fighting to stay silent and slip past every watchful eye. Suddenly she slams into Raoul and Sanya waiting for her, and Raoul snaps, "What are you even doing out this late?" making Luna. Luna finally breaks free. She can't even process it. She just got caught by Sanya and Raoul at the same time, and there she stood, totally stunned, trying to wrap her head around how they could have known, when she'd been in bed just a minute ago. Sanya doesn't hold back. She calls Luna out, yells that she's been pretending to sleep the whole time, and then she rushes to her sister and blurts that she's been acting totally off ever since she heard the name Julius. Like her brain has been overloaded with something she can't shake. Sanya fires back, asking if she's really about to hunt Julius solo, and she calls Luna reckless. Then Luna just stands there, frozen in dead silence. Luna suddenly rockets into the woods, and Sanya just stands there, totally blindsided, and Sanya screams at her, demanding to know why she's even running, and Raoul just stands there, watching the whole disaster unfold. She keeps yelling for her sister to stop, but Luna is already storming deeper into the trees, and Sanya's totally falling apart. She's panicking and yelling for her sister again, sprinting to keep up. But that celebration lasts about as long as a blink. Luna crumples face first into the dirt, and Raoul just laughs, saying she's got zero stamina. Luna gasps for air, admits she only saw that guy once, and that's when the truth really hits. And she suddenly starts replaying it all back at that massive temple's gift ceremony, reliving it and remembering how everything detonated the moment the sage title was announced before that massive crowd. And then this happened. That tall, creepy masked guy showed up out of nowhere, right in front of her. He locked eyes with her and said straight up, "I'm Julia." Luna stood there utterly baffled, until a voice boomed, "Great sage," and the shock hit her like lightning. Julius leans in close and basically tells her, "Come on, it's crystal clear you've got real talent." He locks eyes with her, demands she come work for him, and swears he'll hand over anything she wants. Luna stared at his outstretched hand, and the truth hit her hard. Rushing to the kingdom was the only shot to save her dad. She knows her dad wouldn't be truly happy if he got out this way, but at least he'd be safe, and right now that's all that matters. With laser-level focus, she snaps, "Stay out of my way," and everyone freezes. She rockets a lightning ball straight into the ground, boom. A blinding burst of light detonates and wipes everyone's vision in an instant. Sanya fights through the blinding flash, hearing Raoul's scream, but the dust and chaos everywhere keep swallowing the truth. Raoul smirks through the smoke, and with a grin he claims he can hunt anyone by their footsteps alone, even when his eyes can't see a damn thing. Luna's caught totally off guard as Raoul snaps that she must never underestimate just how fast the Night of Gale can move. Luna lowers her gaze, a dark cloud hanging in her eyes as she quietly apologizes to Drutskson, swearing she'll come through the moment she's back, while, just as the roof suddenly caves in and knocks the wind out of Raoul, Luna doesn't even flinch. She keeps walking away from the wreck. She bursts into a sprint at full speed, right as Sanya is left staring like, wait, did she seriously plan for that loose roof to drop at that exact second? Raoul clocks that she's using the town's layout to her advantage, but he can't focus. Someone's pinned under a pile of wood, screaming for help. Luna's gasping for air, but she's basically home free if she can just slip past that territory line only a massive spell, the seed of the sky tree, erupts, and giant wooden pillars smash out of the ground to slam shut her path completely. Someone shouts that they've finally got her trapped, and Luna freezes mid-step the moment she spots Sanya standing there in plain sight. Sanya looks totally shaken, then snaps at her sister to behave, stay right where she is and just wait, because she's done with this whole mess for now. She tries to cool the situation fast, telling them the best move is simple. Just hold tight and wait for Alma to arrive so they can face it together. Sanya turns away mid-sentence, telling her to just go talk to him, while Luna just stands there, totally clueless about what she's supposed to do next. Luna flashes a gentle smile and looks back quietly, thanking Alma for everything he's done so far yet. But right when the moment hits, she suddenly asks for help with the territory, and a weird light starts blazing from her body. Raoul's jaw drops as she actually teleports, like for real, even though Alma said she can only shift a few inches at a time. He freezes and stares at her, all nerves totally blown away, like, whoa, only a genius could pull off something like that right now. Raoul spins in the pitch-black woods, and panic hits hard, because he has zero clue how they're even going to search this forest. Sanya stood there looking downright furious, and told Raoul that her sister was always like this. And she admits that the second an idea snaps into her head, she bolts off without hearing a word. And that's how she ends up getting lost every single time. She looked fed up because her sister wouldn't budge, insisting Alma was the one person they could genuinely trust. And just like that, she snaps, screaming at the top of her lungs that her sister is a total idiot. She snaps that she doesn't care if her sister disappears again, and Raoul just stands there stunned, replaying how insanely loud her voice is. One of the officials slams the convo to a close, promising he'll fix everything up and make sure all the pieces are locked in. He looks down at a little object in his hand, then asks right as the SC what that kid's name was again. The scarred man beside him pauses for a beat, then explains everything, saying he's the same boy who helped advise the local lord and handed over rare treasures, and finally locks in on the name Alma Fellows. While out in the woods, Alma stands tall and sharp, fully focused on. He's hunting someone down, shouting into the empty air, because the other person is still a master at vanishing without a trace, and he admits it took him all the way to sunset just to finally pin them down. The massive wolf Fenrir bursts into view out of nowhere, and with a snarl he remarks how bizarre it is that this kid is the one hunting him for a change. Alma doesn't slow down. She tells the giant wolf straight to the face that she came all this way because she's got to ask for one huge favor. He digs in his heels, plants himself right before the beast's snout, and roars out Fenrir. And the moment he says it, the beast's whole world seems to snap. Alma locks in full attention, stares the lord of the forest dead in the eyes, and tells him flat out, he wants to fight. Fenrir freezes with shock at the request, asking if he's really serious about a fight. But Alma doesn't hesitate at all. She hits him with a solid no-nonsense yes. Alma plants his feet, stares down the giant wolf, and declares they should fight. No maybe about it, he means it. They didn't just push for it, they practically begged, daring each other to stake their lives on this battle. Fenrir just stares him down and goes, "There's zero reason we should do something like that, none." Yeah, he finally admits he owes the kid a favor, but he refuses to believe paying it with his life is worth it. And honestly, he's been hunting for his son since this morning, so he tries to brush Alma off. So they can talk later. Alma snaps into a serious stare and tells him he doesn't have the luxury of playing it safe. Then he snaps and unleashes a colossal attack that blasts a monstrous hole straight into the side of the mountain. He sprints on fast while the rocks around them start falling apart. Fenrir blurts, "What's happening? Alma would never do something like this." He acts dumb out of nowhere, then barges in demanding answers, and Alma fires back, asking if he's heard the rumor that Eric got caught by the kingdom, since the wolf hangs out so close to where the people live. Fenrir reels back on the rumors. People swear the Lord teamed up with monsters to plot a rebellion. And Alma stares down, finally admitting, yeah, he feels it. He's got to take some of the blame for everything that went down. So Fenrir spills the truth. He's stuck with the job of proving that Eric never wanted to rebel. He's been trying the whole time, but he's about to run out of. He starts rattling ideas, and then, almost like it's a dare, he suggests giving the kingdom a rare young monster might actually work. Fenrir clocks what the Lord means and fires back, asking if he's talking about his son. But Alma shrugs it off as nothing more than small talk. As he pressed, "So is that finally a good enough reason for you to start this fight?" Fenrir suddenly blurts out that he's just gotten too old to keep going. And it smashes right into Alma like a bolt out of nowhere. The giant wolf bares its teeth and snaps like, "I'm way too old for this, I can't keep doing the same thing." Just kick back and stare as Alma's heart turns pitch black. Everything flips in an instant. Fenrir finally snaps, stops holding back, and unleashes a brutal surge of power. Alma's eyes bulge as he realizes Fenrir straight up disappeared into thin air. Then the massive wolf suddenly slams back in. Fenrir's blood runs cold, because the kid is suddenly right behind him, though he's sure he caught him off guard, but there's Alma, standing perfectly fine like that attack never even landed on him. The kid wastes zero time and starts shouting advanced wind magic, aiming to level up fast. He wipes out the entire area with one brutal move he calls *high storm*. With the wind finally fading away, Alma just gives a small nod, then grins like, "Yeah, I finally get it." He snaps his gaze to Fenrir and fires off, "Was that shadow escape I just saw?" Then he cuts himself off mid-sentence. He pieces it together, watching the wolf spring from one shadow to the next, dodging every hit like it's playing a deadly game of hide-and-seek. Almost scratches his chin and admits straight up that he truly thought that last hit finished him, but Fenrir is the one who's genuinely blown away, staring at the kid like, "No way, this magic power is on a whole other level." Fenrir realizes he can't beat Alma in a pure magic showdown, so he decides to. So he tells the kid, "No matter how much power you've got, you're still just a wizard." The giant wolf roars out a move called *Shadow Eater*. And in an instant, those dark beast-like shapes burst into existence. Shapes crawl out of the shadows like they were alive, and Alma freezes as she watches them surface, until she realizes that the shadows are transforming into weapons. Multiple claws rip through the air and slash at him from every single angle. Alma stays locked on guard, fuming because these attacks keep popping up at the worst possible time. And it's driving him insane, like they're trying to get under his skin with. With zero warning, he realizes, if he lets the shadow beast pull his focus too far, the real Fenrir is coming right now, so get ready. Ready to strike with a finishing blow the moment he thinks he's safe. Fenrir even stops to praise him, saying that kid is way more cautious than he'd ever guessed, but Alma stays calm. He spots the main body hanging back on purpose, and he's already sure the wolf is the real deal. Alma leans in and tells him his reaction magic barrier isn't some random spell. It's a custom trick he forged by fusing detection and defense magic into one lethal shield. It's simple, it spots the attack before it lands, reads the damage coming, and snaps a barrier into place strong enough to shut it down. As long as he's in this mode, he never has to fear getting blindsided by a surprise attack. But the spell is brutal. Every second rips away a huge chunk of his energy as he rockets through the shadows, fully aware that there's no way he can hold this barrier up forever. Those shadow wolves keep smashing forward, and it's getting painfully clear that Fenrir's flat out better than him in almost every combat stat. She just hasn't gone full offense yet. And once she keeps using her speed and her numbers to take control of the fight, she can stall him just long enough to drain every last drop of his energy. while Fenrir keeps locking eyes with him unblinking, making Alma realize she could overwhelm him with tactics and end this right now. So he panics, changes gears, and starts casting physical enhancement magic. His power and stamina skyrocketed on the spot, and he fought to stay in the game. Because this wasn't the end, not even close though. He then turbocharges his agility and cranks his reaction speed up to the max. Alma fires up the momentum on the spot, instantly triggering an evasion boost that lets him zip forward even faster. But he doesn't quit, he fires off defense after defense, stacking durability on top of durability until he's practically unbreakable. And then bam, he kicks on enhanced vision and presence detection, and Fenrir just stares, stunned, because he's chanting all those spells at once, realizing he's stacking every single upgrade he's got just to slam the distance shut between them. One of the Shadow Wolves rockets forward, jaws gaping wide, but Alma's ready for the chaos. While the pack surges in from every side, he just stays dead calm in the center. He rockets through the air, slipping past those claws by a hair's breadth, and this new speed makes him feel flat-out untouchable. He flips the defense into an attack, then whips a brutal heavy kick that slams home solid, and then he slams his full weight into a follow-up punch, crushing the space between them to keep the pressure on. Fenrir locks eyes with him, a huge grin on her face, and says she's pretty sure this is the moment to quit playing and get deadly serious. He holds his ground, staring down the colossal wolf perched on the rocks across from him. He smirks at her, leans in, and tells her to stop hiding. Show him your real strength right now. Alma keeps pressing, firing question after question like, is this really all you've got? And Fenrir snaps, calling him a total monster. Fenrir has to admit it. She never thought he'd actually come straight at her shadow army and hold his own, but she tilts her face to the sky and realizes the moment for what's coming next is perfectly timed. A deafening roar hits, the whole place starts to shake, and Alma just stands there, stunned, thinking, what the hell is going on? He stares at the horizon as dawn finally starts to claw its way over the edge, and then, if Fenrir just smirks and tells him, everything changes starting right now. The moment she declares that he's entered her territory, the whole place erupts in this wild, suffocating dark energy. Everything suddenly feels like it belongs to an ancient legend, like they've straight up stumbled into Fenrir's old stories. Old legends swear that when the world finally crashes into darkness, Fenrir is the beast destined to chomp the sun and the moon right out of the sky. He's almost clocking what it means for him right now. Yeah, this is where it hits. In other words, darkness is basically her playground, and he's standing right in the middle of it, staring it down while. As Fenrir towers over the cliffs, he just waits, eyes locked on the perfect moment to strike. Out of nowhere, wild bursts of energy start smashing into Alma's magic shields from every direction. And he's left totally blindsided, like none of this was anywhere on his radar. The wild part is there wasn't a single warning. No hint, no sign, nothing that said an attack was about to hit. She slipped through the shadows like a phantom, then landed the blow so fast it felt like a literal heartbeat. It's a guaranteed hit. No one can dodge, and the terrifying truth is that was Fenrir's power all along. With a special environmental skill, she unleashes a howl, and the shadow that's been swallowing the apocalypse finally takes full control. Fenrir keeps the pressure on, telling Alma straight to her face that running is pointless, and Alma realizes he can't just sit back and guard, so he starts charging up his light magic to unleash a brutal flash across the whole area, screaming at the light to burst outward and blaze. But Fenrir doesn't even blink, he just keeps saying none of this will work on her. Suddenly Alma takes a brutal heavy hit and gets knocked clean off his feet, and the shock hits so hard it flings him backward. He's clearly getting wrecked and can't even keep up with. Seeing how fast she's moving, he snaps into action and ditches the basics to unleash some serious advanced earth magic. He slams the volcano rock move, and huge stone pillars explode up from the ground like a fiery eruption. And as the dust finally drops, he realizes the light wasn't trying to erase the shadows at all. It was just mapping where she'd strike from next. So he digs in inside a glowing shield as the entire forest floor gets absolutely obliterated around him. Alma clenches his teeth as the fight's pressure crashes down on him. He's barely hanging on while. As Fenrir rips into him saying all his effort was pointless, shadows start creeping into the area, and she tells him she can slip through the dark the instant he makes his move, before his attack even starts, like a heartbeat too early making it. It's basically impossible for him to land a hit. She spots his guard crumbling and asks if he's losing his ability to block her, so Alma decides to flip the script. He gathers wind magic and launches a move called air jump. He rockets upward into the sky, fleeing the shadows crawling on the ground, but Fenrir just lurks in the shadows, staring him down, and calling him a fool for even daring to try it. She challenges him like, you really thought shadows couldn't catch you up in the sky too, since the darkness is basically her playground. She leans in and tells him there's absolutely no way out, and she tells him plain, no easy death, not for him. she'll rip him apart limb by limb until he finally spills where her son is. Alma smirks and tells Fenrir that she finally found a weakness. And he adds, for someone as thoughtful as she is, she stayed quiet for a reason. Alma snaps back that she never would have hunted him this far unless she was dead certain she'd win. But out of nowhere, a colossal burst of light detonates in the area, and Fenrir gets totally blindsided by the. Alma just raises her eyes with eerie calm and tells him straight up that he's got his own reasons for wanting to end this fast. Fenrir can't believe any of this. The sun should have slipped behind those peaks ages ago. She squints at something crawling across the mountaintop sky, and her mind instantly races trying to figure out what she's really seeing. The light surges brighter, and the massive cliffs around them finally come into full view. Huge, towering, and impossible to ignore as a giant eye glares open from the rock itself. And boom, it's Gaku, a mountain mimic that blends into the terrain to ambush anything unfortunate enough to pass by. Fenrir starts unraveling when he finally sees the mountain for what it really is, a giant beast. And he can't stop asking if Alma cooked this whole nightmare from the very beginning. Fenrir finally clocks it. Alma wasn't even fighting, she was baiting her, pulling her into this open spot just to trap her. She scrambles to get out fast, but then she spots it, the shadows shifting, creeping closer. Alma shoots her hand out and blurts that the shadows are already pouring down from the sky. There's no escape, not even a sliver. He slams his sealing magic down on her. And then, bam, those massive, crushing chains drop out of nowhere like a death trap. Silence clamps down hard, wrapping her body in unyielding chains. And those metal links clamp around her snout, yanking her tight so she can't move a single inch from the dirt. Fenrir just keeps pretending they're totally finished. But the second she realizes she's been wiped out by some kid, she's completely broken. This fight was never hers. She tells Alma, I know losers don't get to play the favor game. And then she pleads with him, if he's going to take someone, then take her and spare her son from it. A voice just drops the truth. Alma is absolutely crushing it for taking down the guardian of the mountain. It's Fenrir's pup and he's going wild, because he always knew Alma was a monster. Fenrir gets completely thrown off by Alma's words and blurts, wait, what are you even saying? What do you really mean by that? Alma whips around and stares at the forest. And in the clearing, a massive crowd of animals and monsters has gathered like it's about to explode. Turns out all those creatures weren't gone at all. They'd been lurking nearby the entire time. And yeah, they were really watching the whole fight, because they're basically every monster that calls this mountain range home. Alma tells Fenrir, you admitted you lost, so the guardian title is officially yours now. And the moment she says it, Fenrir leaves her completely stunned. She can't help wondering if he planned it all from the start, until he shrugs and says he knew she was the boss because her son told him to. So the little pup just sticks his tongue out, yips in pure excitement, and cheers like the fight was absolutely legendary. Fenrir can't believe he went through all that trouble. She said she owed him, and that she would have helped if he'd just asked. Alma tells him it would have taken way too long to force the rest of the forest monsters to obey any other way. So he had to make sure every last one of them spotted him, because only then would they recognize him as the new boss of the area. Alma keeps firing off his plan, insisting that smashing the former guardian at full power is the quickest route to results. By delivering a rare monster's kid to the kingdom, Fenrir would see he wasn't being loyal. He was setting her up as bait, begging her to fight. She watches him like a hawk, totally baffled. She can't make sense of this kid for the life of her. Suddenly, Alma slams down to the ground and drops into a deep bow right in front of her. He stares at the dirt with a face full of guilt, then turns to Fenrir and begs forgiveness for everything. He finally owned up to it. He crushed her trust just to steal power to defend his own land, even though he knew it would wreck her. He tells her he's not ready to beg for forgiveness yet, but swears he'll crack the code and repay her someday. Alma shot her a quick look and begged, please just stay calm for now. Fenrir stands there frozen, staring at him like, what is going on with this kid? She towers over him and finally snaps, what do you think you're doing after everything we went through? Alma snaps, blindsided, so what are you saying? But Fenrir just shrugs it off and points out the truth. People with real power don't bend their neck that easily. She tells him, after all that work you put into showing off your strength, why would you suddenly back down now? She studies him with a smug grin and says, see, I knew it, turns out I was right about you all along. Then she hits Alma with a total bombshell. Starting right now, he's officially the new guardian of the mountain. Alma grabs her gratitude with a shaky breath, finally feeling the weight lift, because now they can gear up the right way for whatever hits next. Sunlight blasts over the cliffs as Fenrir speaks up again, and this time she admits she has one favor she needs to ask him. Alma cranes her neck, staring up at the towering wolf with a curious edge. Like, what kind of crazy request is he about to drop on her? And she just towers there, staring him down, daring him to give her a real name. The kid's utterly frozen in shock, and he keeps blurting the word back to her like his brain can't process what he's just heard. Fenrir stands there with her little pup and tells him straight up that she wants him to choose a special name for both of them, and yeah, it really is as intense as it sounds. Fenrir keeps pushing, demanding proof that he's truly her master. She just stands there and insists, "That's all I want." One wish, loud and clear. Alma finally breaks and agrees, but he shoots her a warning. He's terrible at picking names. 2 full days have crashed by since Luna vanished out of the Flandre territory, and for now the world's gone eerily still as. Alma still hasn't crawled back from that forest. Raoul's posted up at the gate, pacing and waiting like he's about to snap. And I'm scanning the area non-stop, but so far there's still zero sign of an army or even a single person coming closer. Raoul lets out a crushing sigh as Sanya plops down beside him, totally wiped out, done with this endless waiting. Raoul's freaking out. This whole moment feels painfully awkward, and all he can think is, "Alma, please show up already. I just want everything back to normal." And then out of the blue, a voice bursts from nearby, apologizing for taking so long to get back. Raoul and Sanya lose it when they see Alma hanging limp from the giant wolf's mouth, and she just stands there, like none of it even scares her. Raoul erupts in yelling, demanding answers about what the hell happened, and whether that wolf finally tore into him, while Sanya just freezes, staring at Fenrir with pure, stunned disbelief. Alma's hanging there looking completely wrecked, but he shoves back at Raoul, saying he's got the whole thing wrong and Raoul just needs to look closer. Raoul and Sanya finally clock the rest of the pack lurking in the trees. Raoul can barely force a word out, staring at. While Fenrir lays it out, the monsters finally reveal the truth. They didn't just show up to attack, they formed an army to kill their own mother and seize control of the forest. Raoul's panic spikes again. He lunges at the kid, yells that he can't believe this, and demands to know if he really just took down the legendary Fenrir all by himself. But Alma, still dangling upside down, shoots back that it didn't go down like that. Raoul even admits the kid's on a whole other level. But he pauses for a beat, stunned as it hits him. He can actually understand every word Fenrir and the monsters are saying. Alma leans in and tells him, because he gave the wolf that special title, their telepathic link has surged way stronger than ever, like it's a huge deal because monsters in this world almost never appear with a name tag. So when they do, it's pure rarity, and when it finally happens, those monsters come out stronger and smarter than every other one of their kind. Turns out there's a cheat code. With naming magic and enough power fed to a monster, anyone can summon a title on demand. Raoul glances at the horned beast, now called Boa the Wise Monster, and his jaw drops because both it and the wolf look totally different than before. Boa is alone strong enough to square off with a B-rank adventurer now, and that news has everyone freaking out in disbelief. Alma looks completely drained, and he just admits it. Handing out special titles to every monster in the forest was way tougher than he ever imagined. Raoul couldn't believe it. Alma actually pulled it off, and he figured no kid with that kind of mana could keep going forever. But Alma simply lifts her eyes, and with a calm little nod, says it was for all 30,000 monsters in that area. He breaks it down. An entire army of monsters is here, small horrors and massive beasts alike, ready to defend this land to the last second. And the best part, with those titles you can check their status from anywhere, so trouble practically screams at you the moment it pops up. Even so, Alma can't shake the fear that the locals will panic at the thought of depending on monsters for protection, especially after everything that went down. Raoul tells him, "Don't stress, right now that's the least of our problems," especially when the local farmers and villagers are already there, shoving through the dust, looking beat up and totally drained from fighting day after day. Raoul stands there in his gear, and Alma replays every bit of what Sanya and Eric told him lately, because now he's finally starting to understand what responsibility really means. The local crew won't back off either. One of them steps forward and vows they'll go to war right alongside their side. They're all in, swearing they'll hold the line and stop the kingdom's army cold, until Eric finally makes it back to their territory. Raoul shrugs it off with a loud laugh, then hits her with, "It's only happening because Sanya's been grinding so hard," and it totally blindsides her. Fenrir sweeps his gaze across the area and declares this domain is legit, and Alma can't stop nodding because he's absolutely right. The second the villagers spot Fenrir, the legendary beast, standing right in front of them, they totally lose their minds. They're frozen in place like they just saw a ghost, trying to wrap their heads around the fact that this gigantic monster is hanging out with them like it's nothing. Fenrir shrugs it off and dives back into work. Then, right as he does, everything goes wild and all. Alma shoots him a serious look, then tells him straight up that he's leaving for the capital soon. He's gotta get Fernet to step in, keep a sharp eye on the entire domain while he's gone. Fenrir shoots you a quick nod and says he's got every order down perfectly. That massive beast's official name is *Fernet***. the fearsome great wolf of the Fenrir race. But the little pup won't be left behind. He flaps his tiny paw and chirps like, "Yeah, I get it too." Alma steals a breath and realizes it's been ages since he ever completely burned out his mana. He's slumped there, drained to the bone, and then it hits him. He hasn't even checked his stats yet. Staring at the screen, he felt the past slam right back. Those numbers were burned into his memory, like he'd memorized them a lifetime ago. But then he lines in, and boom, he spots something that makes zero sense at all. Even with all those insane high stats carrying over, his actual level just won't budge. It's stuck at 1. He starts wondering if those levels are really just a scoreboard for how much someone's powers have grown. These reincarnated folks don't start from 0. Most of them wake up with every adult skill and hard-earned knowledge still locked in their head. Alma can't shake the thought. Maybe his level and growth just didn't transfer when he gained his other abilities. He stares at his own hand, trying to wrap his head around this insane situation. But honestly, he feels like he's already strong enough for right now, and there's no real need to chase more power. But that thought won't let go. He can't stop asking himself if there's still space for him to grow. Next, we roll into the capital of the Familia Kingdom, where a massive army stands packed in the castle courtyard, absolutely ready to strike. A guy cranes his neck over this massive crowd and blurts that the whole scene looks absolutely breathtaking. Another guy nods along, then straight up says, "Whoa, bringing this many troops just to control a tiny little territory is total overkill." General Achilles stands frozen in place, jaw set tight, staring down the whole conversation as it keeps going. The Prime Minister flashes a smug little grin like the general's fear is nothing more than a punchline. He makes it clear, most of those folks are only porters, hauling back money and prisoners from the very land they're about to seize. The soldiers stand poised, already tense as the word spreads. Even if thousands upon thousands march in to seize the territory, the Prime Minister just smirks and tells everyone he's basically got the whole fight covered by himself. General Achilles stares, scarred and unblinking, trying to figure out whether that whole thing is just a loud, calculated bluff. Because he's the legendary war god, the one who commands the entire kingdom's military. And his record is wild. Like just recently, he wiped out an entire territory's defenses all by himself. But even with all that strength, the rumor mill keeps spitting out nasty lies about him. So the Prime Minister wraps up Lord Julius' orders, then orders him to move in and handle Flanders land. Achilles just laughs it off, grinning at the Prime Minister and cracking jokes, then snaps back to focus, zero distractions. The Prime Minister is so sure the ending will hit the exact same note no matter what anyone does. He turns away with a smug grin and tells them the plans are locked in, because the troops are already lined up and ready to roll. Achilles thrusts a message at the Prime Minister. Tell Maesha to shut his mouth, speed up, and finish the job, kill the Lord. Claiming that if he does, they'll show the whole world how to crush Flanders in just a couple of days. Then he ends it by slamming the guy with old man and right. Something huge smashes into the outer wall, and a brutal crack races outward, webbing across the stone like lightning. And with that punch landing, the whole area explodes in blinding light, while the soldiers down below can only stare, frozen in shock. The Prime Minister's shaken to the core, and Achilles can't even blink as he realizes, no joke, the outer wall is cracking open right in front of him. With a deafening crash, the stone shatters and drops away, tearing a massive hole straight through the heart of their defenses while the Prime Minister glares into the swirling smoke, he strains to spot a figure, then demands to know who's hiding there. A girl crawls out of the dust and wreckage, rock-steady and unshaken, and tells everyone calmly, "I'm Luna." She marches right through the wreckage, clocking every step as she introduces herself straight up, Luna from Flanders' domain. Before she wraps things up and tells them, she races to meet the legendary sage Julia in person. Achilles just slumps there, utterly wiped out, while the Prime Minister paces and demands, where did the girl go? But outside, the guards pounce on her on the spot, grilling her like, do you even have a referral letter? Luna's clearly confused, so the soldiers snap into explanation. She can't just stroll in to see the great sage without a proper appointment or a letter of recommendation, because otherwise she'll get shut out. Luna suddenly snaps to the truth that she read everything wrong. She thought they were really into her, but the soldiers shut that dream down and explain how the whole thing works. And she snaps, muttering that fans like these are nothing but a non-stop headache to deal with. She snaps, decides on a brand new plan, and strides straight through the rubble. She storms off, leaving the soldiers freaking out and shouting, "Who are you?" But she doesn't fold, repeating that she's got business with the great sage Julius. She tells them to get out of the way or pay for it, then unleashes a blistering burst of advanced wind magic. He unleashes a colossal high storm spell that rips through the entire area like thunder itself, sending soldiers flying because they can't even get through their own sentence. The guards get slammed by the blast, and one of them spits out a furious shout as they're shoved backward. And then he scans the area, completely stunned, because that attack just disappeared like it was never there. Inside, Edward sprawls in his chair, chuckles, and calls Luna a pretty lively intruder. So he decides to see what's really going on for himself, and Luna can't believe it. Right before her eyes, her magic gets instantly wiped out. Edward snaps at her to shut up, warning that even just standing there could leave her in the line of fire. Then he barges through the chaos with that monstrous, creepy grin plastered across his face. Luna just freezes on the spot, staring at him in total disbelief at what's happening right in front of. Mostly because that dude just shut down a massive magic blast with his bare hands. Edward snaps at the guards to get out of his way, and they back off fast without wasting a second. Luna yanked herself back, still panting when it hit her. This wasn't practice anymore, it was a real fight. The second this new guy steps in, the whole room's energy flips, because the power pouring off him is on a whole other level. And Luna feels it the second it hits. She's pinned to the spot, frozen by the wild, overwhelming aura he's radiating. General Achilles keeps marching ahead, wearing a stone-calm face like nothing can shake him, leaving Luna trembling so hard she can barely stay upright. Then realizing this guy's power is on the level of Sage Julius, or maybe even bigger. Achilles finally halts, stares them down, and lets out this heavy, disappointed question. Why is it only a girl and a little kid? He doesn't even spare them a second of thought. He just tells them he'll let them off the hook, but only if they scram right this instant. Which leaves Luna frozen in shock, realizing it's General Achilles as he grumbles about how he just lost his chance to blow off some steam. She freezes on the spot, shattered with fear and wrestling with one wild thought. Maybe, just maybe, she's relieved he isn't attacking. One of the guards snaps up to the general and insists on the truth. No matter if he's a kid, it was their hands that tore through and smashed the castle walls. But Achilles just tells the guards, handle it yourselves, because he's got zero interest in bullying women and kids. General Achilles looks straight up furious, snapping that he's in a terrible mood for personal reasons. He warns them if he goes all out he'll smash everything around him, but Alma doesn't care. He's already locked in, come what may, even if this guy's insanely strong, and Luna throws her support behind him, saying she's got to lay eyes on the legendary great sage Julius. Because her father's counting on her, she steps forward like a storm and demands he open the way for them. Then, without hesitation, he hurled a fireball that detonated into a massive blast right in front of the general. Achilles just lets out a heavy sigh, grumbling that everyone won't stop rambling about Julius. As the smoke finally fades, he casually drops the real lesson. Keep your distance when you cast, smart move every time. He looks totally fine as he admits she hasn't even touched him yet. Yet he's still blown away that she can take on someone with unknown powers. Luna refuses to back off for even a second, smashing straight into her next move, advanced wind magic, right after her last attack. That twist instantly spikes Achilles' interest, because it's wild to him that this rookie is treating him like a real deadly enemy. Achilles locks in a deadly stare and tells them, if that's how you want to play this, then so be it. He rockets forward in the blink of an eye, so fast he's nothing but a blur, while debris erupts and blasts through the air from the raw force alone, triggering a massive shockwave that slams into Luna and forces her to huddle down, or else she'll get blown clean away. Achilles shows zero stress, as he casually drops the bombshell that seeing someone use teleportation is actually insanely rare. While Luna spirals, convinced it's impossible that he could wreak this much damage with just one single stone. He tore straight through her advanced magic and left her with a shockingly empty gap, because he still had enough power to smash the stone wall behind her. Before she even has time to react, a storm of stones starts raining down on her like cannonballs, straight out of nowhere. They blasted into the ground, ripped it apart, and she had to scramble out of the way as the bullets whistled past her head. She glances at him and snaps to attention because this guy isn't just strong. He's on a whole other level than anyone she's ever faced, especially since she clocks that he's reading her every blink to guess her next move. And somehow his shots keep getting deadlier with each one. Luna goes all in and unleashes her water magic, blasting a massive aqua shield into place to block it. They completely boxed her in, and then she slammed a massive waterfall of pure aqua straight onto Achilles. But Luna is all confidence. She knows nobody can actually punch through water, so she goes cool and plans to wash him clean out of the fight. Except she's completely wrong. She flips out the second she sees that whole pillar of water get shoved aside like it's nothing. It's nothing. Achilles is just flashing that maniac grin as he barrels through her magic with so much raw force. She's absolutely blown away because he didn't even touch the water at all. He just slammed the spell back using raw wind pressure. The water explodes into the castle wall with a thunderous crash, obliterating everything around it and leaving the whole area wrecked. Achilles just stands there, soaking it all in like he's got the world in his hands. So he snaps his gaze around and demands, do you honestly think you can just vanish inside these castle walls and get away with it? He's still not backing down, even though teleporting away like that at her age is seriously impressive. Achilles towers over Luna and barks for her to look behind her, because the exit is right there, so she better hurry up and get out. But Eric stands there frozen in shock, staring at the castle walls and realizing just how badly they've already been smashed. And then, abruptly, and Achilles starts to think, wait, is this some kind of power-up gift? But then he realizes no normal present would hand someone this level of insane strength. Lou figures they're probably cheating their speed with magic, zipping around while those rocks they're hurling do the real damage. Because if they were any good with direct attack magic, they would have tried it at least once by now. Yet Luna blurts out the truth. She didn't run away at all, and that snaps Achilles around, demanding to know what the hell she means. She flashes a shaky little smile at him and confesses she didn't just show up. She actually came because she wanted this exact spot. The ground abruptly collapses beneath Achilles, and before he can even react, he starts falling hard, totally blindsided. He can't even make sense of what's happening. He blurts out a confused little noise as his eyes blow wide. And one soldier yells for Lord Achilles as Eric watches the whole chaos unfold, worry etched on his face. Then boom, part of the giant stone wall crashes down and blasts a massive cloud of dust into the air. Achilles drops the bombshell. He swapped the very space they stood in and replaced it with the castle gate. She's basically saying this giant steel door is unbreakable, unless someone pulls out top-tier attack magic and slams it. He shoots her a smug grin and asks right to her face if her power can move things other than herself. And then, he's still talking as the moment hits. And Luna just freezes there, completely overwhelmed, as the dust from the collapse starts to drift away. He leans right up against her face and Achilles snaps, demanding again and again where Julius is hiding. He locks onto her, hammering the same question about Julius' location while she keeps turning her head away. You can't help but stare at her age. Using magic this advanced is straight up unreal. He tells her she must have gotten insanely lucky with an absurdly powerful gift, but then his face darkens as he spits out the words, she's exactly the kind of person he can't stand. Luna locks eyes with him and at last finds her courage to demand why he's so fixated on tracking down Julius. Luna locks eyes with him and says she'll strike a deal. She'll follow him if he agrees to get her father released. And again, Achilles freezes, then blurts out, wait, are you serious? You mean your dad, Eric, the lord of the Flander territory? His eyes sharpen with pure intensity as he mouths Flander again and again, like he's drilling the name into his soul. He suddenly clicks and realizes that's why the troop dispatch got stalled. And then he starts snarling about those vile scum trying to gobble up more power for themselves. Luna just froze there, looking totally lost. Then it clicked and suddenly she realized if that's true, things were about to get insanely way worse than they look. Achilles looks like he's about to snap, muttering that what's happening can't be real since there's not a single hint of magic being used. Then he starts slipping, totally unhinged, staring into nowhere as he tells himself that if he can just wipe out this mysterious intruder right now, then it'll finally all snap back to the way it's meant to be. And for now, Luna gapes in total disbelief, stunned to the core as someone actually smashes through a solid steel door with their bare hands alone. Achilles looks absolutely slammed. Yeah, the so-called war god is feeling the weight of everything, and it's only getting worse as and just like that, his secret weapon erupts, the berserker gift. He starts gripping his own body, fighting it as then the truth about his power finally blasts open. He can't actually fire magic like everyone else, so he has to. He channels that raw internal magic into straight-up physical power, and growing up everybody treated him like a total loser because he couldn't cast a single spell. But in the end, he still clawed his way into legend, earning that war god title with pure, no excuses fighting skill and nothing but raw brute force. Right in that instant, he scans the room, panic surging, and wonders if he's already too late to stop what's about to unfold. Luna feels everything spiral out of control, and she snaps to it. She has to get out of there, put distance between herself and them right now. She rockets backward as the floor explodes into shattered rubble from the impact. Achilles isn't impressed one bit. He just keeps grumbling that teleportation again is painfully unoriginal. Luna just freezes in place, totally stunned by how insanely fast he's moving. The knights watching the brawl are totally freaking out. One swears he just vanished. Another can't believe Lord Achilles can even teleport. But here's the wild part, he isn't using magic at all. He's just blasting through the air so fast the human eye can't track him, and then he slams down with a thunderous punch straight for Luna. She's pinned to the ground, staring up, while the air around him literally blasts apart from the sheer impact. Luna's panic hits instantly because she knows she's toast. She considers dodging or teleporting out, but the truth lands hard. She's just not quick enough to escape in time. Right when the hit is about to connect, someone slams in a block. Then a brutal shockwave rips through the air, cracking the ground apart as it follows through and it stops Achilles dead. His eyes snap wide in shock as he scrambles to process what just hit him. A shadowy figure in a black cape towers in the middle of the chaos, and Achilles gets blasted backward through the wreckage, while the knights just stand there, staring in stunned awe at the. Luna lifts her gaze off the floor, and the moment she registers who just lunged in to save her, the realization hits, slow at first but unmistakable. Achilles is freaking out as soon as he lays eyes on his opponent, while Julius just stands there, mask on, stone calm, like the whole fight is nothing. Achilles finally snaps and calls him out, because the newcomer standing there is none other than the legendary sage Julius. Julius stood with his back to the chaos, and as soon as Edward's messenger delivered the report, he learned the truth. His guest had been stirring up serious trouble, and everything was about to explode. And Achilles still can't believe he's actually calling her a. But Julius won't buy that story. He tells Achilles that a lot of this damage screams I snapped, lost control, and went on a rampage. Staring at the massive hole torn through the stone, Julius snapped that he'd cover every repair and damage himself, straight out of his own pocket. He looks at those shocked knights and promises he'll handle the paperwork too, then casually decides to brand the entire clash as an accident from training. And just to prove he isn't messing around, he offers medical help too, telling any soldier who got hurt or who feels shaken to come forward later for treatment. He glances at the general and asks, "Anything else we've got to settle before we finally wrap this up?" Achilles flashes a quick smirk, shuts the whole thing down with, "No, that's everything," and just like that, the soldiers snap into action and start packing it up. The entire army marches off in tight, perfect rows, and the courtyard goes completely empty, like they just vanished mid-breath, leaving you hanging as. Luna stares up at her savior, and Julius gently whispers her name. Julius leans in and urges them to take this somewhere way more private, then tells everyone to move the conversation to his room. Once everything's settled, he presses her. "So your big dream is getting Eric freed and putting him back in charge of the Flanders territory, right?" Luna doesn't even blink. She says that's exactly what she wants. Julius just leans back for a beat and thinks it through. Meanwhile, Luna stands there, feeling the weight crushing down on her. She locks eyes with the man across the table, and it hits her. This is Julius, the legendary sage, and she starts fretting about what it'll be like to serve him. He's the kingdom's strongest magician, and he's infamous as a cold-blooded prime minister. So she can't stop thinking, what kind of wild, crazy things would a guy like that make her do? Fear claws at her as she grips her dress tight, swearing she'll save her father and she's ready to go all in, no matter what it takes. She'll even get her hands dirty to make it happen. Julius snaps the silence with a sudden question. He demands to know if she really thinks he's some kind of demon. Luna nearly blew a hole through her own skin when she realized she'd said those thoughts out loud, but Julius only tells her to quit pulling that scary face. Because, yeah, this deal is good for her too. Julius locks eyes with Luna and hammers home what he told her before. This isn't about caring for her as a person, not even close, but it's her secret skills he wants most. He pins her with a stare from behind his mask, and he keeps watching as Luna stares up at him, utterly lost, and blurts, "Why would you even want something like that?" So, Julius leans in close, and once he starts talking, he lays out his exact goal right to her. He tells her that. Luna's eyes snap wide, and she instantly freezes, barely able to breathe, let alone get a word out after his demand. Nearby, the man starts sweating, snaps out of control, and demands to know if he really just heard her say that. He blurts that the troop move to Flanders is cancelled. Eric gets to walk free, and they'll just toss a few advisors in the mix to watch everything. Julius stands there with Luna in the middle of the huge hall, and he fires back, "Yeah, that's part of it, but it's not the point he was trying to make." He pauses, eyes narrowing like he's piecing it together, then raises the kid's name and confirms it. Yep, everything's moving forward. The scene snaps shut as he blurts her full name, rough, loud, Luna of the Flanders territory, and just stands there like a shadow. Julius drops a jaw-shattering bombshell. He declares he's going to marry Luna, and it sparks chaos that leaves Edward drenched in sweat, eyes wide with pure stress as he blurts out, "Is Julius actually serious?" Luna just freezes there in dead silence, eyes bulging as she tries to process what the heck just happened. She can barely get the words out. She stammers about a wedding while her eyes lock onto the desk in front of her. Luna snaps, tells him to shut up, and his perverted thoughts hit her like a punch as she realizes exactly what he's doing and, choked on Sanya's warning, she snaps that she's an adult, then points to her height like it's the receipt, so she can finally make her point, but Julius won't move an inch. He just keeps repeating that he only cares about her power, and he's determined to seize it for himself. Luna stares down and asks, "Is that power really worth risking my father and wiping out our whole home?" And she locks eyes with him, burning with questions as she can't figure out why he's clawing so hard for that kind of power. Julia casually tells her the ceremony is tomorrow, and suddenly Luna's stuck alone in her room, spiraling in her thoughts. Julius stares out the window at the darkening sky and tells Luna it's getting late, so he sends someone to guide her to her room for the night. As they stride down the halls, Luna suddenly clocks it. Julius isn't marrying her for love at all. He's playing the whole thing to seize control of her magic power. Luna keeps her head down, looking absolutely crushed as they walk. Edward can practically feel how hard that news is hitting her. So he glances at her and snaps that she needs to quit that gloomy face, because this mess might just have a bright upside. Edward admits he gets why she's furious about the forced marriage, but he insists this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity most nobles would die for, so it leaves. He dashes off, leaving Luna totally baffled, bragging that she'll have more power than most nobles, and that she'll get full access to every luxury bath in the palace. And those massive orchards burst with flowers. Yet the real thing that grabs her is when he brings up the royal library, packed with rare magic books. With all those magic tomes staring at her, Luna starts to doubt everything. Maybe, just maybe, getting stuck here won't be the worst thing after all. Edward throws in one more bombshell. Julius is over 60 and somehow still looks unreal. And before the words even land, Luna flips out, shouting that there's no way he's that old, while Edward calmly hits back with the truth. Julius was already prime minister back when Edward was just getting started as an adventurer. Edward drops his gaze and wears a grim face, replaying it all in his head as. Right then he asks Julius if something's wrong, and Julius just stares out the window, brushing it off as nothing, while secretly wrestling with why anyone even wants power. Edward admits he's still clueless about Julius' real endgame too. Then he remembers back to that one time, ages ago, Julius muttered a line while just staring at a painting. Julius clutches the letter and Edward suddenly remembers him whispering, "I've got a promise I have to keep." Suddenly a voice crashes through the halls, screaming at someone, "Don't mess with me." The guy leans in and tells Julius, "The soldiers have been itching to move for ages, now they're finally ready." Rage is boiling in him. After all those delays, Julius is throwing it all away, calling everything off just to marry some young girl. The marked guy barrels straight into Julius's face, demanding to know if he even realizes how much chaos he's dragging onto everyone else. Julius stays ice cold, calmly telling him he's sure this is the exact move the kingdom needs for its future. He just scoffs and says that from where he's standing, it looks like an old man is finally snapping and losing his mind. Julius shuts it down, final, no debate, then announces the ceremony is happening today and nobody's changing a thing. He shoots his arm out, thrusts an invitation into their hands, and insists they have to be there for the big event. While Luna just stands there completely overwhelmed, Achilles is sprawled on the floor right behind her. Achilles lurches back on his feet, gasping to Julius that he never got the chance to finish his point. But then he just bursts into private laughter, mumbling that she's alone now, and Luna freezes solid like somebody yanked the world's power switch. Dark energy gushes off Achilles as he hunches over, writhing in pain, and it looks like that strange horn of his is about to flare back to life. Turns out his berserker gift is a double-edged curse. Every scrap of his magic power gets locked inside his own body, unable to escape. Julius throws a grim look over his shoulder and admits that raw power like that doesn't come without brutal downsides. His feelings are cranked past the limit, and his inner magic starts running wild like it's lost control. While everyone else just vents magic naturally, Achilles is basically a ticking bomb. He refuses to let a single drop of that power out.